Good morning, madam. Register, madam. Shall we start?
Good morning, sir. Please.
Shall we start, madam?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Am I audible? A cordial welcome to everyone present here. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome our Honorable Shri A.N. Radhakrishnan, Chancellor Maher, Srimati Jayanti Radhakrishnan, Rector Maher, Professor Dr. R.S. Neelakandan, Vice Chancellor Maher, Professor Dr. C. Kritika, Registrar Maher, and other dignitaries, professors, scholars, and students on this online platform to chair the opening ceremony this morning to the Faculty Development Program on Integrating Yoga in Higher Education on the occasion of International Day of Yoga 2022, organized by MEENAKSHI Academy of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. Now I request everyone to rise and join us for Tamil Thai Vaarthu. Thank you. I call upon Priyadarshini, student of FIST Maher, to sing a yoga prayer. Kindly everyone close your eyes and get blessing whilst the prayer.
योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनाम् पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रा असिधारिणम् सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् श्रीमते अनन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you, Priyadarshini. Moving on, our faculty development program purposes the creation of an integrated learning platform to allow for the presentation of the trending skill of integrating yoga in higher education. It focuses on practical solutions in the human sufferings by integrating yoga in higher education through yoga, yoga therapy, and traditional system of Indian medicine. The integration of yoga education in the present system of education can endorse human values to reform attitude and behavior, relieve from stress and strain, build up healthy lifestyle, shape high moral character, and develop refined personalities of the students to make them a complete well-being. Hence, we must understand the importance of yoga in education and introduce it as a discipline, thus focusing on the process of integration in the curriculum. However, yoga practices can lead students to the attainment of the highest goal of life, the self-realization of the potentials innate in them. Finally, the moment when we declare the official opening of the faculty development program on integrating yoga in higher education arrives, and we wish that all 5 days of the program would be metamorphic and beneficial to everyone present here. Now I hand over the dais to the Nalini.
So now it's welcome address. May I invite Dr. R. Ilungovan, Professor and Head of the Faculty of Yoga Sciences and Therapy, MEENAKSHI Academy of Higher Education and Research, to deliver welcome address. Over the session to you, sir.
Good morning to one and all. Hari Om. It gives me immense pleasure to be with you at this August gathering. It is our immense pleasure, privilege, and honor to be with you in this August elite gathering to record our heartiest welcome. We welcome you one and all at this notable and historic occasion of organizing our faculty development program on integrating yoga in higher education on the occasion of International Day of Yoga 2022 online mode today. Ours, MEENAKSHI Academy of Higher Education and Research, Maher, deemed to be University Chennai, comes under Meenakshi Ammal Trust, founded in 1983 by Thiru A.N. Radhakrishnan to upgrade the quality and excellence, spread knowledge, and promote education. Over the years, for the total well-being, our institutions have blossomed as a knowledge center, recognized by its academic pursuits, not only in India, but globally as well, and to provide affordable quality of higher education to all sections of the society. At this juncture, our Chancellor Thiru A.N. Radhakrishnan, sir, is a visionary legend, center of gravity, and a crusader for education. His commitment is divine, and he himself is an institution. We extend a hearty welcome to our Chancellor with folded hands here. With a sense of gratitude, we welcome our Rector Madam, Mrs. Jayanti Radhakrishnan. She has not only spearheaded academic initiatives across our 29 institutions under our group she oversees, but also a constant source of inspiration for all, a transcendent queen with extraordinary talent, a soul to helps, hopes, dreams, and aspirations of many, particularly the poor. She is the rare combinations and truly worth of celebration. We welcome our Rector Madam. We are also glad to extend a hearty welcome to Professor Dr. R.S. Neelakandan sir, our Vice Chancellor, an outstanding and multifaceted academician, a great team leader, a Vice Chancellor unparalleled, and a pillar of devotion. We welcome our Vice Chancellor also, sir. We welcome with great gratitude to Professor Dr. C. Kritika, our Registrar Madam. She is truly a role model for young women community, a passionate, pragmatic, yet idealistic and rational academic and administrator, a legendary exponent par excellence. Our Registrar Madam is a complete and gifted educationist. Once again, on behalf of you, we welcome our Registrar Madam. We welcome our Shri Subodh Diwari sir, CEO, Kaivalyadam Yoga Institute, Kuvalayananda Mart, Lonavala. Also the Secretary General, Indian Yoga Association, New Delhi. Subodh sir is a spiritual scientist endowed with inexhaustible intelligence. He lives a life of virtue, charity, and a relentless hard work. Tower of strength, his awesome, incredible, and sensational compassion is exemplary, sir. The lighthouse of many young yogis and yoginis, our Subodh Diwari, sir. We welcome you, sir. And also, we welcome our Yogacharya, Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani, Director of the Center for Yoga Therapy, Education and Research, CITER, and Professor of Yoga Therapy at the Sri Balaji Vidyabit University, Pondicherry. He is also the Joint Secretary of Indian Yoga Association, New Delhi. Sir, our Anand Balayogi sir is our guiding star, guiding light with vision and values, one of the finest yogis of modern times. Down to earth, honest, and the strongest pillar of strength of spiritualism. We welcome you, sir, Anand Balayogi, sir. We also welcome our IQAC Director of Maher, Dr. Shyam Sivaswamy, the young and energetic, upcoming and promising educationist. We extend our hearty welcome to all dean and principals, all the professors, associate professors, and assistant professors of Maher, our finance officer, dean research, academic officer, administrative, and all other academic staff members, the experts who are going to dedicate for all the 5 days, and also the fellow participants on social media. Once again, on behalf of you and our own institution and our deemed to be university, Maher, we extend our hearty welcome you to one and all at this August and elite gathering. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome address. So now it's presidential address by Professor Dr. C. Kritika, Registrar of Maher. Before inviting her, I would like to give small introduction. Professor Dr. C. Kritika graduated from prestigious Tamil Nadu Government Dental College and Hospital, Chennai as the best outgoing student with 4 gold medals. She did her MBS in Oral Medicine and Radiology also from the Tamil Nadu Government Dental College and then obtained her PhD from MEENAKSHI Academy of Higher Education and Research, Maher. She has been the recipient of the first prize in the national quiz programs, and also she has presented several papers at prestigious national conferences. She completed her CBCT training from DMD and has been a pioneer in the field of CBCT with more than 10 years of experience as a consultant maxillofacial radiologist. She has over 55 research publications in reputed international journals indexed in the Web of Science, PubMed, and Scopus, including OO, DMFR, IJOMS, JOMS, IDJ, and CCD. She also serves in the editorial board of many indexed journals. She has obtained research grants from ICMR and DBT and has applied for patents for 2 devices. She has delivered more than 30 invited guest lectures in the academic institutions and private hospitals. On the cultural front, she is the talented vocalist trained in Carnatic music and has captivated the audience in several music programs, winning prizes and awards. She has served in the capacity of head of the Department of Oral Medicine and Radiology, vice principal, and joint registrar before taking up the current assignment as the registrar of Maher. With this introduction, I welcome you, ma'am, to deliver the presidential address. Over the session to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yes.
So good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and honor to deliver the presidential address on this momentous occasion of the Faculty Development Program organized by the Faculty of Yoga Sciences and Therapy, MEENAKSHI Academy of Higher Education and Research. Now, integrating yoga in higher education is a concept, a philosophy, and a value system that is close to Maher. Ours is one of the very few deemed to be universities in India to have a full-fledged faculty of yoga sciences and therapy that offers undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral programs in yoga. It is perhaps a testimony to the vision of our Honorable Chancellor, Thiru A.N. Radhakrishnan, to provide holistic education to all the students at Maher. And thanks to the unflinching support of our rector and the vice chancellor and the dynamism of the principal of yoga sciences and therapy, this program was made possible in a very short notice. So Maher, as you are aware, is a multidisciplinary healthcare university. We have medical, dental, nursing, physiotherapy, arts and science, occupational therapy, and yoga sciences and therapy. So we have basically all healthcare related specialties. So we are probably in a well-placed position to organize, conduct, and promote events like this, which can take yoga to almost all the faculties in the healthcare field. So I can see that we have a galaxy of eminent speakers, globally renowned experts, to share their views and expertise with us. So I'd like to express our sincere gratitude on behalf of the management to all the speakers for having accepted our invitation gracefully, and a warm welcome to all the esteemed speakers and the delegates who have registered in large numbers for this faculty development program. Now, Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon to transform the world. So the purpose of education is not just sharing of knowledge. So education should develop critical thinking. Education should develop self-awareness. Education should promote harmonious living. Education should basically result in empowerment, the ability to face the challenges of the world. And to transform the world, one should first have the ability to transform oneself. And what better way than yoga to help in the self-transformation and self-realization. Now, higher education institutions have now realized the value of integrating yoga in their curriculum to promote overall well-being of the students as well as the faculty. There is abundance of literature, abundance of research done in this field where the beneficial effects of yoga have been well documented when imparted to an educational setting. So both the UGC and the NMC have given a huge emphasis in this direction by making yoga a mandatory part of the first year undergraduate curriculum. So we at Maher are also committed to do our bit to customize the curriculum to suit the present day needs and to make our students competent and peaceful global citizens. This faculty development program, we believe, is a small step in that direction. And we sincerely hope that all delegates find this to be a rewarding and a transforming experience. So many congratulations to the principal, faculty, and the students of the Faculty of Yoga Sciences and Therapy for having organized this program in such an efficient and effective manner. And once again, I conclude my speech by welcoming all the speakers and all the delegates. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a true pleasure and honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. So now I hand over the dais to Pallavi.
Those who contemplate the beauty of earth find reserves of strength and that will endure as long as life lasts. May I now request Mr. Subodh Tiwari, CEO, Kaivalya Dhamma Yoga Institute, Lonavala, Pune, to present the inaugural address on this occasion for which we all await. At a very young age, Mr. Tiwari was initiated into spiritual practices by Swami Digambarji, then director and spiritual head of Kaivalya Dhamma. Dr. Tiwari commenced his yoga journey at the age of 6 under the guidance of his father, Sri O.P. Tiwari, a disciple of Swami Kohulananda, the founder of Kaivalya Dhamma. As the CEO of Kaivalya Dhamma since 2016, his resolute efforts have been to achieve the distinct purpose of merging yoga tradition with science to make his knowledge relevant and accessible to the world. Based on the undiluted principles of the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, Sir aims to encourage yoga as a way of life across spheres of health, research, and education. At present, Sir is the Secretary General of the Indian Yoga Association, board member of Yoga Certification Board, Ministry of Ayush, member of Governing Council for Inter-University Center for Yogic Sciences, UGC, member of the Governing Counciling, NCTE, chairman of the subgroup of Yoga CII, member of the high-level task force on yoga research by CCRYM. He is a senior committee member and advisory at various universities to promote yoga in schools and colleges. He actively contributes to many yoga and wellness initiatives by the Government of India and Government of Maharashtra. He believes that yoga is not only doing, but also a state of being, that effective practices of yoga can facilitate physical, emotional, spiritual well-being for a holistic, meaningful life. In his 2 decades at Kaivalya Dhamma, he has inspired an eco-friendly campus by introducing multiple projects such as garbage management, recycling system for gardens, and large-scale organic plantation. Thank you for your marvelous encouragement, sir. I welcome you on this platform. Please take over the dais, sir.
My namaskars to everyone, pranams to everyone. So nice to be here amongst all of you for this faculty development program. My greetings to Professor Ilangovan for having invited me here, and I thank him to enable me to interact with you. My greetings to my dear yoga brother, Dr. Ananda Maharaj Bal Yogi. We often find ourselves in the same platform, and we like the energy which is there. I feel lucky because I was just listening to my own introduction with so many committees, and I thought this is the real God's grace that I found myself at so many places where I hope to contribute to best of my ability. And then they say there are advantages of being with wise people. And one of the advantages, people extend the wisdom which you may or may not have to you too. So similarly, though I have not finished any PhD, nor am I a doctor, I have found prefix with the title doctor. So I always clarify that I am only Mr. Subodh Tiwari. My background is, of course, I am born and brought up in Kaivalya Dham. That is my greatest strength, I say, in the yogic environment. And I, of course, went to finish my law and practice law. So that is it. But I have been born and brought up and been practicing yoga for a long time. So I think I have 30 minutes. I will share a slide on my thoughts of yoga in higher education system. I should mention that for last 25 years, being part of Kaivalyadham, we have been interacting a lot with the ministry and the agencies which are responsible for policy making as far as the yoga in education world is concerned. Be it the NCERT, which is for the school education system, be it the University Grant Commission, where during the 9th plan, Kaivalyadham collaborated to start the first collaboration for establishment of departments of yoga in identified universities. And I think we have come a long way of trying to implement and being able to implement yoga in our education system, not only in India, but at a global level. Of course, 2014 onwards, 2015, when we had International Day of Yoga, a lot of emphasis has been placed on yoga. And there have been some very good developments, such as a module has been part of the National Council of Teachers Education, which is available to all the teachers. The national entrance test in yoga has started. It gives opportunity for academic growth to people who want to pursue the career of yoga. But I feel the most important aspect for us remains to integrate yoga as a practice in our educational system, because we often discuss the philosophical part, the theoretical part of yoga are important. But I feel that the most important aspect of yoga as a darshana or as a subject, as a science, is enabling individuals to experience the science. Because unless one experiences yoga, all that what is taught as theory, all that what is taught as philosophy does not make much sense. It is like me trying to explain to you the taste of rasgulla for 4 hours, but not making you eat it. So how much ever I will explain to you, you will not get the real taste. Similarly, you cannot learn swimming theoretically by being out of the water. You will have to get inside the water and try and then achieve the art of swimming. So with this initial thoughts, I have some time. So let me share a presentation with you. And this is regarding my thoughts on yoga in higher education system. Since this is the faculty development program, and I am assuming that you are able to see the presentation. Something about Kaivalyadham, established in 1924. We are going to complete 100 years very soon. Right in 1962, it was declared a national level yoga institute for higher learning by the Ministry of Education. Then we had a transition where Ministry of Education became Ministry of HRD, and again we have the Ministry of Education. So we have been working with Ministry of Education for almost more than 50 years now, and therefore a lot of experience comes by as far as yoga in education system is concerned. And I would like to go to the principles and fundamentals of education when we are looking at yoga. Because merely trying to offer more degrees or trying to increase the amount of courses available may not serve the purpose fully as far as when we speak of yoga in education is concerned. Like I mentioned here, education is derived from the word educare, to manifest. And last probably 2 centuries we lost on this principle because the colonial mindset changed the whole paradigm of education as it was from Gurukul Parampara or from experiential learning in a Gurukul setup, it went on to become a industrial setup. So the manifestation part of it was lost. That is what I feel. It was more about getting the hidden potential of an individual out. And all of you are from the field of education. Some are teaching, some are going through it. But it was always multi-dimensional. What I feel is there was no singular focus earlier only on your mind or your intelligence or your intellectual self alone. There were other dimensions which were very important as far as the education was concerned, because it meant real upliftment of an individual and not merely becoming more intelligent. Now, yoga, when we look at it, in synthesis with the whole concept of education, please understand that it is a catalyst in achieving what we really desire, to educate an individual. So I would suggest we look at the yoga as part and parcel of the whole rather than a separate subject. Because while we can include yoga as a subject and teach, but how do we integrate in our education system, I think remains to be a most important aspect. I would quote Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan here, our own past president, a learned and eminent scholar. And he defines beautifully, because he says purpose of education is to help us find out what we are in this world for. The student should always find time for self-knowledge, Atma-Jnana, scrutiny and self-criticism, Atma-Vichara. Now, these are principles, I think, which need to be reiterated in our education system. How much ever large discussions we hold, how much ever more intelligent students we want to create, how much ever more placements we intend making, I think as educational institutions, we should, and educationists, we should keep in mind that we should contribute towards the holistic development of the student and not merely to a more intelligent world, but rather a more wise world which has variety of experiences. Education system over a period of time progressed with the ancient Gurukul system, which actually I hope comes back, because when I looked at this recent scenario of a pandemic, I saw more clusters of smaller schools coming up, smaller individual groups coming up. And probably that is the best way to share more and more experience. Of course, the time progressed in the West, and you had the printing technology and the Western influence of education, which also came through the colonial regime in India. Well, I think that changed the access. We are trying hard to go back there, and with this faculty development program, in light of this new education policy, which we are trying to inculcate and implement, there is a lot of scope now to go back to that Gurukul system or experiential system, because now in the new education policy, all of you are academicians, you must have realized there is a lot of, there is a lot of lateral option where people can do a BSc with probably a music or a yoga as a credit and a master. So that I think is a very great step which has been there, and we need to develop more on it. And I'm also sure you must be aware that there is something called bank of credits, which is being developed by the University Grant Commission. Now, this is such a good concept, because not each college, not each university will have to reinvent the wheel. So you will have a bank of credit system where there are credit courses, and college or a university can just go in there and take that credit system with the institution which is offering that. Now that maintains the quality of it, that gives the option that many institutions can opt for it without reinventing the wheel of investment in the faculty or redesigning the programs again and again, because then there is a tendency that it might be diluted or it might go in a different way. So this system also is very good. And of course, the advent of mass communication includes the development today where unfortunately the experiential aspect is gone missing to a very great extent. And I feel, I go back to the point again and again in relation to yoga, that you might go through hundreds and hours of theoretical knowledge of Ashtanga yoga or many texts. But eventually, what is most important is you get down to the yoga asana mat and start to practice. That is important. So the progress of education system, I feel, and you may agree, that has created more emphasis on information and knowledge based, and has reduced the need for experiential knowledge over a period of time. But we are hoping that as far as yoga is concerned, that needs to be an integrated part of our system. Just looking back, of course, how are we poised? Because we cannot only discuss yoga, but also the education as a whole. Literacy has been a great emphasis. We have really been able to increase that. Education, there are thousands of engineering colleges and so many and so forth, which there is no doubt. But I feel that when we look at our education system as a whole, again, I will come back to the same point, that the objectivity part of it has increased, but the subjective part of it needs to, grow much further. And it is in this light that each one of us as a teacher, as a faculty, should be looking at not only yoga, but what yoga teaches is in every aspect of life, yoga is there. And therefore, that will influence anyone from any faculty to do the right thing of what we discussed earlier, that getting out the potential in the student, manifesting that divinity, getting out the different dimensions of that student, focusing on not only the intelligentsia part of it, but rather the physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual well-being. That becomes, I think, a very important thing. And this I like. It says that, we have to understand the meaning of disciple, discipline, what I will not read, but you can read yourself. And this transformation is also essential, because right now, if you look at the educational system, there is this great, and it might be, I wouldn't say right or wrong, but there is so much of emphasis on treating the student like a consumer or a customer, and this tagline of institution that one has to satisfy the customer. And I think that in education needs to change, because student ultimately should be a seeker. And students' attitude also could be defined by how the institutions approach them. And this need for students, the attitude amongst the students to seek, I feel, is something which yoga essentially will inculcate. And that, I think, is a very important aspect. You cannot teach humility, you cannot teach compassion, you cannot teach empathy, you cannot teach sympathy. These are something which are inborn. And that is what yoga is capable of. And therefore, the need to integrate yoga in educational system as an education and experiential paradigm. Of course, as faculties, we want to influence them, we want to grow their mind, but we should also understand that we are equal partners in transmission of the knowledge. And that is what we should aim as faculty. We often say the principle of yoga in relation to education, as you can see, that not everything is there in the colleges and in the institutions. 1/4 knowledge you will receive through teachers. 1/4 through Atma Chintan and Atma Manthan, that is the intellectual effort and self-practice. And of course, with passage of time, because something which you cannot replace is what time teaches. You cannot replace that experience, and therefore our outlook to our whole education and learning should be based on these principles which we should keep in our mind as faculty. And understanding these aspects of education, before I conclude, I will just mention that we speak of inculcating yoga in our education system, and we should, out of the variety of concoctions of the yoga, we should understand that yoga is a holistic science. This is being hosted by the yoga department, and yoga should be looked as a holistic science and not only as a practice of physical well-being. So Maharishi's Ashtanga Yoga emphasizes on aspects of yamas and niyamas and asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. So the Ashtanga Yoga essentially leads to variety of thought processes. It strengthens you at your level of being, the character which you are, the nature which you should possess. The ahimsa, satya, asteya, parigara, brahmacharya, these are qualities. And as faculties, I always emphasize this fact. Imagine the idea of satya. It is Patanjali who says, he uses this word called pratisthaya. And that is very important for us to understand. It is imbibing that in us. You can fool the whole world, but what is it if you are fooling yourself? So therefore, it has to be imbibed deep inside, because what matters for you is you. As faculty, we should adopt these means which should be reflected amongst the students, because that is what the students will take home. They will not take home how you look, they will take home how you feel. And therefore, these aspects of yoga as a holistic science need to be integrated as in our education system. Having agreed on that, last 5 minutes we will devote to what can be the strategies apart from setting up a department of a yoga in a university, which is very good, offering courses of various academic nature, which is excellent. Should we also look at promoting yoga at a larger level? You have something like a national service scheme program. Let us have yoga integrated in that will serve wide varieties of students. In addition to those who are part of the yoga department, we can host some things for the NSS coordinators which are motivated. Colleges could go ahead and have a group or a yoga club where students desirous can participate. There should be orientation session, practice sessions. Teachers' orientation program can inculcate some aspect of a yoga. There could be a frequent and regular emphasis on inviting guests and guest lecturers, experiential sessions on yoga for students at large. So much of evidence can be generated on impact of yoga. Research collaborations can be established which throw more light on the impact of yoga. Exam stresses, you have Prime Minister speaking of that. Why can't we look at special sessions during the examination for all the students? Can we have a yoga orientation program which is equivalent to the continuing training which the UGC prescribes for the yoga teacher? If that is equivalent, many of the teachers, faculty will vie for it and opt for it, instead of going for a 7-day or a 10-day program at a center of UGC somewhere or the other. teachers could be motivated if they take up yoga training in a way. These are generic suggestions because, again, I will emphasize the academic excellence part is all right. But when you speak of inculcating yoga, we should look at 100% of the students and not only the students which are, involved in yoga. Institutions are centric to the leadership, and therefore something needs to be organized. It may be vice chancellor, maybe the director, maybe the principals, but they should be involved in understanding the importance of yoga. We did a lot of program in Navodaya Vidyalaya. There are around 600 Navodaya Vidyalaya in India. And we tried very hard in 2006 and 7 and we could not get. Then one of the joint secretaries in the ministry said, okay, I'm sending you 30 principals of the school. And the moment we got an orientation program for 30 principals, all those 30 Navodaya Vidyalaya could get the yoga implemented with these. So that was the impact. They understood what it is. Recently in Kaivalya, we had 150 officials from the Ministry of Education. And these are people who deals with files. These are the people who deals with policy. Once they go through the experience, they are more empathetic towards it. So I think these are out of the box thinking which we as an educationist, academicians should be doing to ensure that yoga is inculcated, for the institutions at global level. And of course, effort should be made by colleges to collaborate because like what this program has seen, you have people coming in with specialties and sharing knowledge, and more collaborative efforts will yield better results. So the beginning lies in practice is the only way. So all of us are here and for this FDP and please, I think the International Day of Yoga is coming. So let's imbibe yoga as part of our practice, and that is the way we should go ahead. I thank all of you for patiently listening to me. I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to be amongst you here and share my views from the Tapobhumi of Swami Kaivalyanandaji at Kaivalya Dham Lonavla. I offer an open invitation for all of you to visit this place as and when it is possible. And I wish you all the best for the full day. I see Professor Ilangovan. Thank you so much for having me here. He's a dynamic individual, and I think he looks younger every time I see him virtually or I meet him personally. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. We are blessed. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your remarkable speech on integration of yoga in higher education through Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, which enable the individual to gain knowledge through yoga, which is an Anubhava Shastra, that is experiential knowledge. Thank you once again, sir. Now I hand over the dais to Nalini, PhD scholar.
So now it's keynote address by Yogacharya Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani, sir. Before inviting him, I would like to give small introduction. Yogacharya Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani is the director of the Center for Yoga Therapy Education and Research, CITER, and the professor of yoga therapy at the Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth University, Pondicherry. He has served as member of numerous expert committees of the Ministry of Ayush, including its steering committee of the Yoga Certification Board, National Board for Promotion of Yoga and Naturopathy, Scientific Advisory Committee and Standing Finance Committees of CCRYN, and expert committees for celebration of International Yoga Day and the Yoga Diabetes Program. He is the consultant resource person for the WHO Collaborative Center in Traditional Medicine Yoga at Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga, New Delhi. He is also the EC member and joint secretary of Indian Yoga Association and senior vice president of the National Yogasana Sports Association, and a recipient of the coveted DSc in Yoga from S. Vyasa Yoga University, and he is the chairman of the International Center for Yoga Education and Research at Ananda Ashram, Pondicherry. And he is having the premier Institute of Yoga and Carnatic Music and Bharatanatyam in Pondicherry, and he is the son and successor of the internationally acclaimed yoga team of Yoga Maharishi, Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj, and Yoga Charini Kalai Mamani Ammaji, Srimati Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani. He is a gold medalist in medical studies, MBBS, with postgraduate diplomas in both family health as well as in yoga. A fellow of the Indian Academy of Yoga, he has authored 19 DVDs and 26 books and 32 complications on yoga, as well as he published more than 300 paper compilations and abstracts on yoga and yoga research in national and international journals. His literary works have nearly 3,000 citations with an H index of 26 and an I-10 index of 56. In addition, he is the classical Indian vocalist, percussionist, music composer, and he is very choreographer of Indian classical dance. So he is an honorary advisor to International Association of Yoga Therapists, Australian Association of Yoga Therapists, and Geetananda Yoga Associations worldwide. He is the recognized PhD guide for yoga therapy and is the first Indian to be recognized as an IAYT certified yoga therapist by the International Association of Yoga Therapists USA. In recent years, he has traveled abroad 20 times and conducted invited talks, public events, workshops, and retreats, and been a major presenter at yoga conferences in the UK, USA, Italy, South Africa, Malaysia, Germany, Switzerland, and so many countries. Really, sir, your biodata itself more inspirations to the youngers. We are waiting to hear your speech. Over the session to you, sir.
Namaste everyone, Vanakkam. I hope you can see my screen. So just checking, you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor Ilangovan sir for this generous invitation to address all of you today. And I have been inspired by the beautiful speech by my dear brother, Subodhji. Subodhji and I have, parallel lives because both of us have grown up in yoga ashrams. And so we understand what a tradition is. We understand the importance of tradition. And yet we also understand how it has to be taken forward into the modern life and the modern educational system and the healthcare settings. I would like to congratulate the Faculty of Yogic Sciences and Therapy at Meenakshi Academy of Higher Education and Research. This is a monumental effort you have made to conduct this faculty development program. I congratulate the more than 316 participants currently logged in. And I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to enhance our skills, which is what an FDP should do. This morning, I'm exploring the topic of translational value of yoga research. And here we have two different words. One is translational value, and second is yoga research. Two phrases we are seeing. And yoga research, you can understand, is the research into the yogic phenomenon and its applied aspects. And I would like to bring to your notice the word translational value, which talks about how this can then be applied for the end user. So going forward, I would like to invoke the Guru Parampara, the traditional Rishi culture Guru Parampara, which is enabling me to share whatever knowledge I have today with all of you. And through my illustrious father and mother, both of my gurus, Swami Geetananda Giri and Ammaji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani, I invoke the Guru Parampara before I begin today. Om Tad Paramparaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guru Prachodayate. Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Puduvai Kalaimamani Puduvai Shakti Yogacharini Ammaji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata Ki Jai. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. So I am representing today Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, one of the top 100 universities of India with an NAAC accreditation of A++, where for the past 12 years, we have a Center for Yoga Therapy Education and Research, and this is serving the student population, the faculty, the society, and looking at the aspect of the application of yoga therapy for bettering the health in our patients, educating future yoga therapists through various programs from PG certificates up to PhD, and research with about 140 publications in the past 12 years. Our focus is salitogenesis, which implies to become mindful of what are the aspects that enable health to manifest, wellness to manifest in our life. Here we would like to move from pathogenesis, a focus on disease, pathology, towards salitogenesis, a focus on health. And this is where the bringing together, the bridging of the ancient experiential wisdom of yoga with evidence-based approach of modern medical science is the goal of our endeavor. I'd like to place on record my appreciation and gratitude to my own yoga research guru, Professor Madan Mohanji, who has been the pioneer of integrating yoga in modern medicine. Right from his time in JIPMER for about 3 decades, then his time at Mahatma Gandhi Medical College and Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, where he served as the founder director of CITER, and continuing his work with the Center for Yogic Sciences at Sri Vinayaka Mission. We can see that right in 1982, that the first paper was published of his work with my beloved father, Swamiji. You can see both of them in that beautiful image. Oxygen consumption and ventilatory changes during Savitri Pranayama and Shavasana. And then later on, he took yoga and introduced it to medical students, the JIPMER experience. And the culmination of it was in August, September 2008, where we published the methodology and the findings of this effort with our OM team, which included Ananda, Kaviraj Udupa, and Madan Mohan, the OM team. Coming to the topic of translational research. So we have on one side basic research, which is in the lab focused. And then we have the clinical research, which is patient-centric, and the clinical trials. And so each one is feeding each other. The basic research feeds the clinical research feeds the basic research. And if you look at the flow chart, you will see that it starts with the discovery, the development, the implementation, and evaluation and review, and then the research uptake. Now, the discovery and development part of yoga has been going on for millennia. So I think where we are working now is the implementation, evaluation, and research uptake part, because we are not going to discover something which our rishis haven't discovered. They have already done it all. The origin of research in yoga dates back to the prehistoric origin of yoga itself. The ancient rishis were asking the question, who am I? Nanya, koham. And that is the most important question when it comes to the personal life and individual existence and one's growth and evolution. Now, the scientific and philosophical literary research, this is essential. Why is it essential? To confirm, to validate, and to enhance the understanding and application of yogic concepts and the practices. So it's both the concepts and practices, the understanding and the application, for whom? For the benefit of humanity. Hence, we need scientific and philosophical literary research to confirm, validate, and enhance this understanding and application. A couple of days back, I had a look at PubMed, which is the gold standard for research papers. And it showed me that yoga therapy has 6,772 publications coming up on PubMed. It shows how popular this has become. And you could look at the graph from 1948 onwards till 2022, the latest. You can see in the past few decades how it has increased tremendously. This is better than any other graph you can see, actually. So when we talk about modern yoga research, where did it all start? As Subodhji rightly pointed out, more than nearly a century ago, Kaivaladama is soon going to be celebrating its century. Looking forward to being there in person for that event, because Kaivaladama is my second home when it comes to yoga. Swami Kolainanda and Kaivaladama from 1924, amazing work that has been there, and taking it forward in a very scientific way with the publication of Yoga Mimamsa, the first journal to actually give the scientific tinge to yoga research, and being continued today also, an amazing journal. And I recommend that every one of you who's interested in yoga research, you please purchase the access to the PDF of all the Yoga Mimamsa from 1924. I have a copy with myself, because these papers may not be found online. These papers may not be there, but they are amazing, original, fundamental yoga research. So any researcher, please contact Kaivaladama and get that compilation. It's in 2 PDFs the last time I noted. The work done by amazing scientists, yoga scientists like M.L. Gharote, M.V. Bole, P.V. Karambelkar, S.L. Vinekar. These are some of the original researchers. And then it has continued with amazing work even to this day by Dr. Bogalji and others. This was then taken up by the medical scientists, because the medical scientists said, we want to know what is the role of yoga in health, wellness, and as a therapeutic modality. So work at AIIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, B.K. Anand, G.S. Chinna, all of them, they started doing. And Baldev Singh, they did some of the original work. Then at the Benares Hindu University, with people like K.N. Udupa, an amazing researcher. Then at NIMHANS, with Dr. Desi Raju, who is the mentor of the most prolific yoga researcher today, my dear Shirley Tellis. And then work by people like R.L. Bijlani ji, amazing work done at AIIMS. And of course, Madan Mohan ji at Pondicherry in Jipmer, we must always remember with gratitude. Today, we have yoga universities like S. Vyasa in Bangalore, Patanjali Yoga Peeth in Haridwar and others. But despite this type of growth, what we find is that most of the research gets limited to the physical aspects. You know, we must not put yoga in a box. Because if you put yoga in a box, it's not really yoga. And for most of our scientific research, we take yoga, put it in a box and study it to do our publication and PhD. We need to understand yoga out of the box. See, if I cut your finger and put it in a box and study it, I am not going to know everything about you. I need to understand you as a living, thriving human being who has days where you are up, days where you are down. We have to understand that complete, holistic, Purna of the human being. And this is why if you look at modern research today, what we find is everybody wants to prove themselves right. They are not really trying to understand the Purna Swarupa of yoga. So we need to again think about it. Because just like this iceberg, I hope you can all see this beautiful iceberg there. If you look at the iceberg, 1/11 out of 11 parts, only 1 part is above the water. 10 part is under the water. Similarly, what we are researching about yoga is that 1 part above the water. What we are not understanding about yoga is the 10 part under the water. This is the level where we are today. Because the yogic phenomena are beyond the physical manifestation. You know, you look at a study, we have done so much of studies. Shavasana reduces BP and heart rate. Excellent, very nice. But is that the only role of Shavasana? And the answer is no. Because the real effect of Shavasana as the ultimate relaxation and renunciation, tyaga, giving up everything. Because when you die, you have to give up everything, whether you like it or not. You cannot take anything with you, empty hand, as Alexander told his people, put me with empty hands so people will know the greatest emperor, he took nothing with him. So it is the highest paratyaga that is being done, the paravairagya that is being done. And that is the effect of Shavasana. The fact that it reduces your blood pressure and heart rate is only the tip of the iceberg, nothing more. So what are some recent trends in yoga research? One, it is a global phenomenon. As we said on PubMed, you will find research from every country in the world today happening. There are more number of blinded randomized controlled trial. See, the gold standard in research, if you are a researcher, the gold standard is randomized double-blind controlled trial. Double-blind RCT is the highest level of evidence that you're looking for. So the researcher doesn't know the group, the person in the group doesn't know which group they belong to. You have control group, you have experimental group, and you have done randomization properly, not convenience sampling, randomization. Now, more and more studies are coming like that. There is better planning and implementation. People are understanding the mechanisms by which the practices are working. More number of research studies in, indexed journals with impact factor. We all know in health sciences university, impact factor indexing is the most important thing for faculty promotion. You publish in some place which is not indexed, it is not counted for your job selection or faculty promotion. So what it means is a better standard of research, at least at the physical level, and better funding is available in different countries. But the questions I would like to put forth to you today, do we have the equipment to quantitatively and qualitatively measure the effects of yoga? What do we do with the aspects of yoga that are beyond our present day capacity? As I said in Shavasana, the beyond our capacity to study, there is a lot. What we can study, it is like Avvayar, Tamil Mudati Avvayar, Kattradu Kaimannalavu, Kalladadu Ulagalavu. That is the type of situation we have here. And then the question, how to keep the yoga and yoga research. I will describe a study where there's no yoga, but it is called a yoga research paper. Every month, twice we have our journal club. And every time we have journal club, we are seeing so many yoga papers, but there's no yoga in it. So how to keep the yoga in the yoga research? And more important, research is done by the researcher. Publication is done, PhD is awarded. How does that knowledge, how does it come down to the end user? Who is the end user? The person coming to your yoga class. The person coming to you for therapy. How is it getting down to them? Or are we just teaching whatever we have been teaching for last 25 years with no change, no improvement, no updation? That is why today, Ilangovan sir at Maher has started this faculty development program to update everybody, because it is not enough to say that 10 years ago, my teacher told this is the asana for diabetes. What is today's update? What is your knowledge today? What is your experience? How do you approach the individual? It has to percolate. And that is why yoga research is not just getting bits and pieces of information. From there, you get 2 quotations, from here 2, from there 3, and you put a paper together. This is the typical paper that comes to me for review. I review at least 3-4 papers per month. Most of the time, people have just rearranged the known fact and they have submitted a paper. It has to be original. It has to be your contribution, not somebody else's contribution in your words. And it must be continual and expanding. Otherwise, what is happening? Somebody did something, we will do that same thing. Somebody showed Shavasana reduces BP. I will also show Shavasana reduces BP. What is the important? What is the new thing? What is novel about it? What is original about it? Nothing. And this is why we have to understand. We have to learn from the past, but we have to substantiate by our development in the present moment to take the future in a new way. And again, it shouldn't be a sales pitch. Every organization, they have some special technique. They will do research in that to sell that technique, sell the yoga class. No, it has to be, you have to do yoga research for the sake of researching yoga, nothing else. That is the concept. So it should be driven by a quest. What is your question? What answer you get? How you develop a new question? Research. You search, get an answer. Again, based on that answer, you search again, get another answer, search again, search, research, search, research. That is why it's called research and not just search. And this is why today, again, basic research is lacking. Everybody wants to study cancer. Everybody wants to study hypertension. Everybody wants to study diabetes. Who wants to study the impact of the bandhas, the practices? When you do Paschimottanasana, what is happening to you? What is happening physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, socially, spiritually? Nobody wants to know that. Who will fund it? But if I say I will do research on yoga for diabetes, yes, some funding will come. So the basic research is lacking. We need to do basic research. Then we can go on to it. And another problem, many of the researchers have come from the medical field. So they are very good in medical field. They have heard, oh, yoga is good. You can get funding. They have come. They have no idea about yoga. They have no experience about yoga. But because they have good expertise in their field, they become the yoga expert. So please be very careful about this. The researcher should understand yoga also. We need to focus on the core concept of yoga. We find newer methods to unravel its secrets. We have to work on extensive basic research. There won't be much money, but you have to work on it. You have to show what is happening in different practices, in different target populations. Otherwise, what is happening? Everybody wants one pill for one ill. Similarly, they want one asana for one disease. And that is totally against the concept of yoga, which looks at the whole person approach. The complete person has to be seen, not just the disease. Because somebody has diabetes, don't make that his identity. He is an individual having diabetes. Don't even call him diabetic. You ask people today, Namaste, nice to meet you. Who are you? Sir, I am cancer patient. Sir, I am diabetic. Sir, I am heart patient. No. What is your name? At least you tell me first. We have identified with the disease. So please help people to come out of that identification with disease. They are a pure Atma, a Vishuddha Atma. The disease is only temporary. And this is why, my dear Satbir Khalsa, who is in Harvard, what he has done is amazing work. Satbir Khalsa has done amazing work where he has shown that in the last few decades, threefold increase in publications, 45% RCTs, most of the publications from India, then USA and Canada. And what are the three major disorders? Mental health. So mental health, the second, cardiovascular disease, and the third, respiratory disease. These are the ones that are having the most yoga intervention studied. Now, this is why it is very important to realize it doesn't matter how much of these resources you have. 6,700 papers in PubMed, all the research articles, all the resources. But if you don't know how to use it, you will not go any place. Just like this person, he has all those ladders. Look at that person, how many ladders he has, but all he needs is one ladder to climb. Eka Tattva Abhyasa, says Maharishi Patanjali. He needs only one ladder. He puts all these ladders, but he doesn't know how to use them. We have to be very careful. Having resources is one thing, knowing how to use them is another thing. Because in 2016, I did a review, and what we found is that what is the utilization of yoga research resources by the yoga teachers? There was a general lack of awareness of yoga research. And everybody said, yes, we need to know research. But I said, we asked them, how are you updating? They are updating from newspaper articles. Please never update research from newspaper article. Read the original paper. I will show you 2 papers at the end of this presentation. If you read the newspaper article, you will think something else. You go and read the actual article, you will realize what the truth is. Never, never, never go by just newspaper articles and what comes on the website. So the key players in all of this, who are the key players? The student, the therapist, the patient, the researcher, the teacher. All of them have to be constantly interacting. So the student needs to tell the teacher what they need. The teacher has to tell the researcher what I need. The patient has to tell the therapist. The therapist has to tell the researcher. There has to be this constant interaction going on so that the field of yoga research can grow. Otherwise, we'll end up just repeating what has been done with no new changes. And that is why when we talk of translational medicine, translational aspects of research, we find that patient-derived discoveries. You have given the patient one therapy and there's another therapy, you found it worked. You said, serendipity, by chance I have come to know. So you can do some clinical trial. When you do the clinical trial, you find the health challenge. The health challenge leads to clinical trial. What is the health challenge? Long COVID. After you get COVID, people are having a lot of symptoms. Every symptom you can think of. And how can yoga help? You are doing a clinical trial on the effect of yoga on long COVID. Similarly, basic research discovery. That leads to patient-derived discovery, health challenge, clinical trial. And this is how the translation. Translation means what is being said by one person is explained to the next person. That is the meaning. Someone speaks in English, you translate to Tamil. Somebody speaks in Tamil, you translate to Hindi. From Hindi to English, you are translating. Translational research is translating what you have found to the patient application. And that is why translation is vital here. So if you look at clinical research and translational medicine, we are talking of human diseases, ideas and hypotheses, basic research findings, innovation and discovery, intellectual property, development pipeline, clinical trials, and regulatory approval. All of these have to be going on. And this has to come into our perspective for us to take it forward. So with this base, I would like to share some interesting yoga research studies that have translational value. Going to 1991, there was a beautiful study by Shirley Tellis and Deshi Raju and Nimhans, which showed the difference. This is basic research. They showed the difference between short kumbhaka and long kumbhaka. So as we know in yoga, when you hold the breath, it may be short or it may be long. So there is a difference. Now everybody says, do kumbhaka pranayama. Okay, fine. Which type of kumbhaka? Because physiologically, when you do short kumbhaka, there is an increase in oxygen consumption and metabolic rate. So whenever you do short kumbhaka, it burns your calories. Long kumbhaka is lowering the oxygen consumption and metabolic rate. So there is a difference. If you want to burn calories and increase the oxygen consumption by the body, you have to do short kumbhaka. But if you want to lower oxygen consumption and metabolism, you have to do long kumbhaka. So application of kumbhaka is different and it varies in potential cases. So this is where now that research was done in 1991. How many people have applied that research in their teaching? How many people have applied that research in the clinical practice of yoga therapy? See, this is where we have the research. It needs to come from the lab. It needs to come from the publication into the end user. That is translation. Similarly, if you look at another study, by Shanoff Khalsa, Kennedy and others. What they found is the right unilateral forced nasal breathing. So basically what we call Surya Nadi or Surya Pranayama or Surya Anuloma Pranayama, it increases heart rate compared to left. Then the stroke volume of the heart is more in left than in right. So what is happening? The right breathing is increasing heart rate. Left is decreasing it. But because the heart rate is decreasing in the left, there is a compensation of stroke volume in the heart. This is the mechanism that is going on in it. And what happens is when you do the left end diastolic volume, that is the amount of volume at the end of diastole in your heart, it is increased. So what we are finding is right nostril gives sympathetic stimulation, and this then can come into therapy. Now we have seen this work in 1993. So in 2008, studies by Raghuraj looked at it. 2014, our own studies by Rajajay Kumar and our team worked on it. And in 2014, we looked at more studies to substantiate this finding so that when you want to increase the heart rate, you can use right nostril breathing. But if you want to increase stroke volume in patients who have certain cardiac issues, the left nostril breathing will help a lot. So this is how the therapeutic practice will be influenced by the research finding, translational aspect of yoga research. Another study by Tellis. What happened? Right nostril, oxygen consumption 37%. Alternate nostril, Nadi Shuddhi, Anulom Vilom, 18%. Left nostril, 24%. So what they are finding, if you want more oxygen consumption, you do right nostril. You don't need so much oxygen consumption, alternate nostril. And left nostril decreases sympathetic activity. So here you have people who are very stressed. How you can help them? Left nostril breathing, Chandra Anuloma, Chandra Nadi or Chandra Pranayama becomes a therapeutic modality based on this research. We took this forth and we said, okay, let us look at what happens with our patients at JIPMA. So we did Chandra Nadi Pranayama. Okay, Chandra Nadi Pranayama helped all the hypertensive patients. Blood pressure came down, heart rate came down. But one patient, he told us, Dr. Ananda, I did your therapy, but I reversed the therapy. See, this is where patient input is coming into translational research. I said, what are you doing, Baba? He said, I have been doing right nostril. So we told him do left nostril breathing for hypertension. He is doing right nostril. We checked his BP was good. So then we said, okay, in this patient doing right nostril breathing also gave benefit. So then we did a new study. The patient feedback enabled us to do a new study. If you have hypertension and you do right nostril breathing, what happens? And we found that it is safe. So earlier they said, oh, you have hypertension, don't do right nostril breathing. It is contraindicated. But because of the patient feedback, we did the research and we found right nostril breathing is safe. But you want to give left nostril breathing, but right nostril breathing is safe. It doesn't harm the person. This is how you develop the translational research. Another study, 1998 by Dr. Selvamurthy, who was in DIPAS and DRDO, one of India's greatest scientists. He looked at head down tilt and Sarvangasana. Till that time, everybody was telling, if you have hypertension, don't do Sarvangasana, don't do Sirsasana, don't put the head down. He did a study and they showed that putting the head down actually is beneficial for people who have hypertension. They showed that Sarvangasana and head down tilt is actually very beneficial. So this is how what happened. They gave us a clue. Now, you don't want to do Sarvangasana, Shirsasana, but you can bring the head down. Dharmikasana, Adho Mukha Shwana, Meru Asana, the mountain posture. You can bring the head down. Balasana, you can bring the head down. Pada Hastasana, the head is below the heart. And you can have that same type of benefit. Because the moment you change the head below the heart, you have changed what are called baroreflexes. Baroreflex sensitivity. So Selvamurthy sir's research has given us a new perspective towards managing hypertension through yoga therapy. Now, similarly, we find Raghuraj in 1998. They looked at Kapalbhati and Nadi Shuddhi, two practices that are very commonly done in classes. Kapalbhati is increasing sympathetic activity. But what is happening is that Nadi Shuddhi is not doing that. So in people who are having already sympathetic overactivity, you should not give Kapalbhati. That is a warning signal. Today, we are not thinking about that. Everybody wants to do every practice. What is your base level? That has to be looked at. And this type of research gives us a clue on how to take it forward. We took this forward with the patients of hypertension in 2004 at JIPMER. And we found that yoga relaxation is reducing the BP. Okay, we know that. But those hypertensive patients, even the sympathetic nervous system is not working. Sympathetic nervous system tone is also down. So BP is also high. So parasympathetic is also not working properly. But sympathetic is also not working properly in those patients. And when you give the relaxation therapy of yoga, both the parasympathetic tone is also improved and the sympathetic, which was lower than normal, comes to normal. Because everybody goes around telling yoga will reduce sympathetic and make you parasympathetic dominant. No, yoga does not make you parasympathetic dominant. Yoga enhances balance of the autonomic nervous system. So it is a balance of the autonomic nervous system, not sympathetic dominance. And these are the studies. 2004 we did, and then another MD student of ours in 2015, she again did that study and we confirmed with a RCT. The first one was not an RCT, second one was an RCT. Again, 2005, Madan Mohan sir's work. Slow pranayama has a different effect. Fast pranayama has a different effect. And this was then confirmed by randomized controlled trials in 2014 and 15 by two different studies. So what is important? What is your student having? What is your patient having? What is the baseline? Some people will benefit from slow pranayama. Some will benefit from fast pranayama. You don't just go and teach everybody everything. This is where the research, which is done in the lab, is coming into the patient care, into your teaching situation, the end user, translational aspect of yoga research. But my question always is, how many of our yoga teachers and yoga therapists are update on it? Very, very less. That is why this type of faculty development program is so important, to update ourselves. Another study in 2015, Manjunatha S. at Delhi. Because till then everybody told, even now many yoga teachers and therapists are saying, when you do Ardha Matsyendrasana, you compress the pancreas, there will be more insulin, so your diabetes is controlled. This is one total nonsense which was going on for so many years, still continuing. In 2005, this research showed it is not increasing the insulin. Actually, what happens is the sensitivity of the cell is changed. And so what happened is after the asana, the insulin level is also lower because the insulin is going and attaching to receptor. The glucose can go into the cell. So the asana is potentiating sensitivity of the insulin receptor. One of the major problems, type 2 diabetes, it is not a lack of insulin. It is the insulin resistance which is the problem. And what are the yoga asanas doing? They are breaking down the insulin resistance, making the cells more sensitive to the insulin. You are not increasing the insulin by compressing the pancreas. That is total crazy stuff which was running around. This research has given us a new mechanism. You are breaking down the insulin resistance so that even if you don't have 100% insulin from your pancreas, even that 50% will help you to lead a normal life and manage your diabetes, control your diabetes. A study in 2009 by Raghavendra Rao. He is currently Director, Central Council for Research in Yoga and Naturopathy at Delhi. He showed, again, it is not that you cure cancer. What you are doing, you are reducing the anxiety. You are helping them to have less anxiety. And what happens? The distress, the symptom severity, all of that can come down. The quality of life will be enhanced in terminal cases. So we are not saying yoga will not work. What we are saying is yoga works in a different way. It is not looking at the cure of cancer. It is looking at how can you enhance the life of the person who is having that cancer. This is a very, very important concept that is otherwise lost. And this is why studies at Kaivalya Dhamma by Lee Majeski, Subodhji and myself, we have published these studies. A 3-week program which is going on for cancer and for chronic diseases. Highly recommend that program at Kaivalya Dhamma. You go there for 3 weeks, you come back rejuvenated, whatever your chronic disease be. Because what it does, it looks at the whole person. It gives you a healthy lifestyle. It gives you healthy attitudes, and you start to make healthy choices, and it changes your life. And this has resulted in a book by Lee and myself, Yoga Therapy as a Whole Person Approach. And it is a very popular book being used these days. Again, Surya Namaskar. Recently in January, everybody was doing Surya Namaskar. 70 lakh Surya Namaskar, 70 crore Surya Namaskar. We crossed more than 100 crore with the National Yogasana Sport Federation events. Slow Surya Namaskar is different than fast Surya Namaskar. In 2011, we have published this paper. If you do slow Surya Namaskar, it is looking more, the effects are more like the Yogasana effect. When you do fast Surya Namaskar, the effect is more like doing physical exercise. So the same Surya Namaskar can be a physical exercise. It can also have the effect of Yogasana, depending on how you do it. This is why it is important to have this research, to have clarity. And a beautiful study in 2011 from Nimhans, Kalyani Biji, and her father, Dr. Gangadhar, one of the great yoga researchers. They looked at chanting Om, and they looked at the functional MRI. Functional MRI is when in your brain, what is going on can be seen in that moment. The functional aspects are seen. And when they chanted Om, when the subjects were doing Om as opposed to the simple control group with a sound, they found limbic deactivation. The limbic system in our brain is all about the heavy emotion. You get very angry, you want to punch somebody in the nose, you are upset, you are emotional. It's your limbic system. And what did they find? When you do the chanting of the Omkar, immediately the limbic system deactivation is occurring. Now you say, okay, what if I cannot chant Om? You can chant any of the mantra of your religion. Any of the chant of your religion will have a similar effect, I will guarantee you that. Because a study was done by Bernardi in Italy and Finland. And they showed, they did the Buddhist mantra. Yesterday was Buddha Paurnima. They did the Buddhist mantra, which is Om Mani Padme Om. And they did the Christian chant, which is called Ave Maria. And they found a similar effect to both of them. So whatever your religion is giving you, whatever your culture is giving you, whatever your language is giving you, chanting that. Kandarshashti Kavasam will have that effect for someone in Tamil. Somebody may want to chant the Vedas, somebody may want to do the Namas, somebody may want to chant Ave Maria, somebody may want to do Om Mani Padme Om. Whatever your culture, religion and language is giving you, when you chant that, your limbic deactivation comes. And when the limbic system comes down, all the emotions are controlled. And then your buddhi will work. When your emotions are high, you will not be able to think clearly. When you can deactivate your limbic system, it can do. What an important role for emotional intelligence. And then we looked at practices like the pranava, where you can do the chanting. So we said, okay, when you do the the practice of the pranayama, which is part of this tradition, we found hypertensives are benefiting. So then what happened? One day at Jipmer, my yoga teachers came and told me, sir, patient வந்து உட்கார்ந்துட்டு பண்ண முடியல சார். அதனால நாங்க படுத்துக்கிட்டு பண்ணோம் சார். The patient couldn't sit and do the pranava, we did it lying down. I said, okay, let us study that. And we studied the lying down pranava. It was also very useful in hypertension and diabetes. Then one of the neurologists, she said, I'm doing my postdoc. I want to look at pranava in patients who have stroke. So we looked at transcranial Doppler, the blood flow in the brain with this, and it is increasing the blood flow in the brain when you do the pranava. So this is how you start with one practice. Then the patient says, I cannot sit, I'm lying down. Okay, What is the impact when you lie down? That you study. And then what we see is that you go on to the aspect of in stroke patients. So hypertension, and then you look at the complication of hypertension, which is stroke. And all of this is coming into play. And another study by Streeter, they have shown how even a single session, even one single session can help. Because what is happening? The parasympathetic is being enhanced. Sympathetic is coming down, so balance. And GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid, the very important inhibitory neurotransmitter in your brain. It is very important, GABA. And what they found, this level is low when you are stressed. And once you can do the yoga practice, even a single session will alter the GABA levels in your blood. Even a single session is beneficial. We have done that for about 15,000 patients, single session, and we have found the benefit in them also. Now you say, okay, fine, all of this is there, but does it go down to our genes? Well, in 2013, Dean Ornish, the man who gave us the lifestyle to reverse cardiac disease, heart disease, he has shown that, well, they did a 3-month study of lifestyle changes. Please don't forget, yoga is the best lifestyle ever developed for humanity. So the lifestyle changes in 3 months, what happened? Telomerase. This is an enzyme that is working on the telomeres of your chromosome. The shorter your telomere, the older you are. So what it is doing? It is enabling the telomeres to be long. It means kaya kalpa. The age is being reversed. You are reversing aging, and they found 5-year follow-up they did. And they found that the comprehensive lifestyle intervention, relative telomere length is more. Just yesterday, one of my father's students, he is a Canadian, now living in Indonesia, Thailand. He sent me a report. He did his telomere test, and his age is 70. Okay, 70. His age is 70. He has been doing yoga his whole life since 1969-70 when he studied with my father in Pondicherry. And his age, according to the telomeres, is 43. His actual age is 70. The telomere age is 43 because of the yoga practice. So this is a new way to take research forward. And whenever I share, I like to share this because right down to your chromosomes, right down to your cells, right down to your genetic material, it is being changed when you do the practice of yoga and you do these practices. So when we look at translation, we have to look at the public health, the basic research, preclinical research, clinical research and implementation. But don't forget, who is at the center of all of this? The patient. Or if you are teaching yoga, the student. The student is at the center. The patient is at the center if it is yoga therapy. And you develop new approaches, demonstrate the usefulness, and disseminate the finding. This is the way the constant growth has to occur in the field. Otherwise, we will not take this forth and it will be very, very limited.
I think Sir has internet connection. I request everyone to wait.
Sorry about that. My internet, I think, just got cut. I will share once again. So I think you got up to that last slide. Now here, when we want to take this forth, I told you there are many yoga research studies where there's no yoga in it. So I'm going to give you one example. This was a study that was done in the UK. And it was published in a very good journal also. So what did they say? They gave diabetic patient yoga And they said there was no change. Yoga did not work in diabetes. That was the finding. So if you look at that paper finding, yoga doesn't work in diabetes. Published in a good journal in the UK. Everybody is thinking, what to do? Now, you go and look at the methodology. Whenever you want to analyze a study, please look at the material and methods. Don't look at the result. Material and method is the most important part of understanding any study. So, if you look at that, look at this part. 2/3 of patients on the diabetic register were ineligible. So the first part enna solli pathina, out of 100 patients, it means 66 people are not eligible to participate. So what do you have? 33%. Of that 33%, 90% declined to participate. Na varala pa unga study ke. They said we will not come. So out of 33%, 90% gone. So you have only 10%, 3.3%. Of that 3.3%, only 50% attendance at class. So class is 50% in the 50% attendance, you cannot write exam, okay? FTPK 80% attendance illana certificate kudukka mattaru Ilangovan sir. Remember that. 50% attendance. So 3.3% of that 50% attendance. And then the statement is nobody did the exercise at home. Now you tell me, if you are teaching yoga to somebody and they don't do at home, what type of teacher you are? And that itself tells you nobody did at home. Then on top of that, they are telling most of the participants are unsuitable for standard yoga because they don't have proper flexibility, they don't have proper fitness, they have comorbidity and lack of confidence. So basically, what does this mean? Iska matlab kya hai? Idhukku artham enna? No yoga. No yoga in the study. But it is published as a yoga research. So this is why I'm telling you, whenever you see a study, it may be positive, negative, look at the material method section, understand what they have done, it will give you a clue. The second point I want to share with you, another study. Make sure it is done with humans. Because what happened is there was this paper that came out, it became very popular. Lateral sleeping position. Side la paduthukitu irukkirathu nalladhu. It influences the brain's cleanup of metabolic waste product, halts neurological disease. Suddenly this was in the news. So everybody is sharing on Facebook. I always lie on the side. I always tell my patient to lie on the side. I always teach people to lie on the side. All of this was going. So I went and looked at the actual paper. I searched the paper. Always look at the original paper. Don't look at newspaper article. And you know what? It was done on rats. Yeliya vechi pannanga pa. Chuve ke upar yoga means research kiya. Not yoga research, research. They used the rodent model to study the glymphatic pathway. That is the lymphatics in the brain and how the CSF is filling. So please, before you start talking about any paper, was that paper done in a rat or done in human being? This is very important. Everybody started talking. I was laughing at it for about 1 month. Everybody on Facebook, on Twitter, on WhatsApp, every place it was, oh, lying down on the side is good for you. I heard one research done. Research is done in Yeli vechi pannanga. The chinnada irukum vella elli. Adha vechi pannuvaanga labla. So in CITER for the past 12 years, we have tried to bring this. So what we do is we take the basic research. We then apply it to the patient. What is the patient feedback? Take it back and do applied research on that. So we have looked at essential hypertension. We have worked at psychiatric ward. Yoga chronic kidney disease, how it is working. If the person doesn't sleep at night, many of the healthcare people, interns, the nurses and all, they don't get to sleep. How it is affecting them, what you can do about it. Lung disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, how the breathing can help the mother and the baby, because mother and baby are one unit during pregnancy. How music therapy, yoga therapy can work together to reduce the anxiety before angiography. Angiography panna povanga and the patient ke sama tension irupanga. How yoga and music therapy can reduce it. Then in autism spectrum disease, in diabetic lung, chronic rhinosinusitis, one of the commonest issue is sinus problem. How the Brahmari can help. We have shown the evidence for that. Similarly, autism and the பசங்களுக்கு வந்து IQ கம்மியா இருக்கும். They cannot brush properly. If you teach yoga, they learn how to brush properly. Oral hygiene can be enhanced. Depression, how it can help. In depression, I want to tell you this. What happened is, we gave, for the depressed patient, we were giving the yoga therapy with the medical management. Now, normally what is happening, the allopathic treatment which is given, it is very effective. So depression is coming down. But the patient who is having depression is also having anxiety. So they have to then give one more medicine. But when you give yoga, depression is also improving, the anxiety is also reducing. So this is why when you add yoga to the modern medical management, you are helping the patient care to be enhanced. Similarly, people who have alcohol addiction, de-addiction and the craving, how you can reduce it. In diabetes, how the kidneys are a target organ, how you can protect it with the yoga, how the elderly women you can improve, and how you can also enhance the capacity of autism children. Similarly, people are going for root canal. Pal doctor கிட்ட போனா drill போட்டு drill பண்ணுவாங்க. Sama stress இருக்கும். Anxiety, stress will be so much. How you can reduce that anxiety and stress by giving the relaxation before going for root canal. One of the first researchers in the whole world of yoga and dentistry is done at SPV. It is one of our highlights that dentistry and yoga has come together. Similarly, looking at psoriasis, skin disease, how yoga can help there. In neck pain, how in people who have filarial lymphedema, in the Yanakal Noi, adila how yoga can help. It doesn't reduce the edema, but it enhances other aspects. And metabolic syndrome, which is very common today. And again, insulin resistance, the most important place where yoga works in diabetes, reducing insulin resistance. That we have again documented in the latest paper published in 2022, our latest paper that we have published there. We have also looked at the SWOT analysis. So I told you in the beginning, there was one OM team, Ananda, Udupa and Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan sir, ipa konja retire aita. Adanala ipa Ananda, Udupa and Meena. So this has become the new OM team. We published recently in 2021 a SWOT analysis. What is the strength, weakness, opportunity and threat in yoga research? And this is something which we need to look at always. We have very good opportunities, but we have to see what is the compliance issue. When you start a yoga research study, you will start with 100 people. By the time you get to half of it, half of them have gone home. By the time you get to the end of the study, you have only 10% of your people, all have stopped. Compliance is a big issue. So then what does the candidate do? They will cook up data, questionable data. This is a big threat. Very big threat in yoga research is 10 பேருக்கு பண்ணிட்டு 30 பேருக்கு பண்ணதால publish பண்ணுவாங்க. And this is why foreign journals don't want to accept our research, because so many times a good statistician will know what is actual data, what is cooked up data. I have seen that in many papers, and that is why it is a big threat. And that is why we need to design studies to counter these threats. And we have to accept our weakness. I cannot do a randomized controlled trial. Accept it. I had 30% dropout. Accept it. Don't falsify it. When you accept it, the methodology of your study will be stronger. The weight of your results will be much greater. And that is why we need to work on that. And this is the type of work which from Dilip Sarkar, he is the past president, American Heart Association and of the International Association Yoga Therapist. After seeing the work we are doing at SITER for the last 12 years, bringing yoga into healthcare in a higher educational institution, which is the theme of this whole FDP, he said, this is 21st century medicine, where we are bringing yoga into the medical care. You can see in the psychiatric ward, in the master health checkup at SITER, taking the yoga right where the person is. And before I end this part of my talk and take a few questions, I see there are many questions. I'll try to address them if the organizers allow me today. So the first part is we have always had an ego-logical. என்னைக்குமே இந்த ஆணவம் வந்து நம்ம மனுஷாளுக்கு அதிகம். நான் தான் பெருசு, எல்லாருடைய நான் தான் பெருசு, எனக்கு தான் எல்லாம் தெரியும். So that ego has put us on top and created so many problems on this planet. We need to move from that ego to ecological. We have to understand that we are one with all the living beings on this planet. Yadu Mure Yavaram Kele is the teaching of our Tamil culture. Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, it is said, the whole world is one family. How can we work together so that we strengthen each other? That is the way we need to move from ego-logical to ecological. And for this, I always suggest the highest attitude, gratitude. Nandri Marapadu Nandrandre, Nandralladandre Marapadu Nandre, says Thiruvalluvar so beautiful in the Ulaga Podumare. What we have to realize, gratitude. Because when we have gratitude, we will then automatically want to serve. From the sense of gratitude will come sharing and caring. And that sharing and caring is what we are doing at SITER. You're all welcome to visit us, all welcome to participate in our activities, including from June 13. We have a very amazing event coming up, International Yoga Therapy Convention. And I'm sure you will all benefit from it. We'll be sharing the information. So thank you very much for having me with you. And I conclude this part of my talk. And if the organizers can give us a few moments, I can address any questions that are there. I see a few questions and we can address them. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. So now the session is open for questions. So we have one question. What is the functions of left nostril breathing and how it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system and helps in hypertension?
Very good. See, one of the most important therapeutic modalities for hypertension is the left nostril breathing, Chandranadi Pranayama. This is because when you do the left nostril breathing, it has the capacity to relax us by activating. It is activating the parasympathetic vagal tone. So normally in our autonomic nervous system, we have sympathetic and parasympathetic. So the sympathetic is always increasing the blood pressure. Parasympathetic vagus will decrease the blood pressure. So when we do the left nostril breathing, we are finding the parasympathetic effect is coming in. And this is being modulated. This is being modulated through the hypothalamus. The most important part of our neurophysiology is the hypothalamus, because all the human functions are regulated by the hypothalamus. So the right nostril increases sympathetic, so it will increase heart rate and BP, whereas the left nostril.
Sir, your voice is disconnected. Audience, please wait. Meanwhile, please post your questions on the chat box.
And this gives a sense of relaxation. Similarly, right nostril influences left brain, left nostril influences right brain. So either one crisscross, right nostril, left brain, left nostril, right brain. So right brain என்பது என்னன்னா, always right brain is to do with the quality. I say right brain வந்து உங்களுக்கு சரஸ்வதி, left brain வந்து லக்ஷ்மி. So left brain எனக்குமே என்ன நினைக்குதுன்னா, எனக்கு எவ்வளவு காசு கிடைக்கும், எவ்வளவு காசு என்பது அந்த கணக்கு போடுறதெல்லாம் left brain தான். So left brain is always stressed. What will I get? How much can I get? When will I get? Will I survive? அது எல்லாமே left brain. Right brain என்ன பண்ணுது, நான் என்ன கொடுக்க முடியும்? How can I improve things is the right brain. And so left nostril influences right brain, so it relaxes us and automatically we feel much better. So that is the main mechanism of left nostril breathing. Can I have a few more questions, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And the next question, what are the way to reduce skin disorders through yoga?
See, ellame, all disorders, the root of all disorders is stress. So this is the concept of Adi Vyadhi, Adija Vyadhi, given in Yoga Vashishta. So stress is the root. Noi nadi, noi mudal nadi, adu tanikkum vai nadi vaipachayal, says again Valluvar. Noi nadi, noi mudal nadi. What is the root? Heya hetu hana upaya, says Maharishi Patanjali. The root is stress. Stress is occurring and leading to all the psychosomatic disorders. So if we can reduce the stress, we will enhance the healing capacity. We will enhance the healing capacity of all disorders. So if the question is, how does yoga work in all disorders? By anti-stress. So I will say yoga as the vaccine against stress. So before you get stress, you put the vaccine, which is yoga. Once you get stress, it is like a poison. You take the antidote, which is yoga. So yoga is the vaccine and antidote against stress. Stress is the root cause of all the disorders.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, what are the slow and fast pranayamas?
Yeah. See, the slow pranayamas, for example, when we do the Sukha pranayama, the Nadi Shuddhi, Nadi Shodhana, the Pranava pranayama, all of these where we are breathing maybe around 6 times per minute. Earlier, someone asked a question, I think it was Shamala. She asked a question about right nostril and that Chandra.
Sir, your voice is broken.
Six breaths per minute is our formula. So whatever you want to do, you want to come
Sorry
to 6
for the
breaths per
interruption,
minute.
sir.
Yes.
Your voice was broken in the middle.
Yeah, I'll come back to that again. I noticed it, so I stopped speaking till the signal came. There's some signal issue today. So what happens is that 6 breaths per minute is the formula. The moment you breathe at the rate of 6 per minute, you are going to keep all your cardiovascular rhythms normal. So this is slow, deep breathing. Now, fast breathing, especially practices like Kapalabhati, Bhastrika, these come under the fast breathing. And also there are practices. Hope the signal is back now. Yeah. So I hope that slow and fast pranayama is clear. Fast is primarily Kapalabhati, Bhastrika, and practices like Kukriya pranayama.
Thank you, sir. The next question, how yoga therapy helps to reduce insulin resistance?
See, what happens is that there are 2-3 mechanisms. One is that when we are lazy, it is called tamasika guna, tamo guna. This tamo guna will come even into our cells. So even our cells have tamo guna. நான் எதுக்குப்பா வேலை செய்யணும், யாராவது பார்த்துக்கிட்டோம், பண்ணது போதும், இதுக்கு மேல எதுக்குப்பா, 2 மணி நேரம் வேலை செஞ்சாச்சு, 6 மணி நேரம் உட்கார்ந்து காவி சாப்பிடலாம். இது வந்து தமோ குணா. So even our cells start to have tamo guna, and that is the resistance. Now when you do the yoga practices, you are moving from tamo guna to rajo guna, which is activating, and then you are going beyond activating into balance, which is sattva guna. So inactivity, you are moving into activity. From activity, you are going into balance. Tamo to rajo to sattva. So I would say that principally for me, that is the mechanism. And the second thing is, mentally, we have a lot of resistance. We are resistant to ideas. We are resistant to anybody trying to correct us. We are resistant to everything. But through the yoga practice, we break down that mental resistance. When we break down mental resistance, physical resistance will also break down. So I would say this is how I would say it happens. But what also they say is that the weight loss will help a lot. That is how metformin is the drug used in diabetes to break down insulin resistance. So yoga has a metformin-like action. Yes, the next one.
The next question, what is the yoga tool to help to reduce anxiety?
Left nostril breathing. Slow, deep breathing. Left nostril breathing will reduce anxiety, anxiolytic. Slow, deep breathing will reduce anxiety. Shavasana will reduce anxiety. Pranava Pranayama, amazing practice to reduce anxiety.
So the next question is how yoga practice will be helpful in varicose vein.
Well, varicose vein, one thing we need to understand is it is a weakness of the valves in the vein itself. So often that weakness in the valve you cannot repair. But what you can do is that you can do practices where the legs are elevated. Padottanasana, Sarvangasana, Viparita Karani, Shirsasana, like that. When you elevate the legs, you are helping the blood to come from the legs, the stagnant blood to come back into circulation. So if the leg lifting is done 3-4 times a day, it will help the circulation to come back. And also practices where you go onto your toes, the Thalasana, for example. Similarly, practices like the Utkatasana, other Utkatasana, what it will do is it will compress the muscles around the lower limb, the gastrocnemius muscles, the soleus muscle. It's called the peripheral pump. So when that happens, the blood that is stagnating, you can bring it back into circulation. And if you start doing this, you may reduce the inflammation in the body. Cooling pranayamas, Shitali Sitkari will reduce the inflammation and it can help the person a lot with that.
Thank
Sir,
you, sir.
Namaskaram, sir. I want to ask one question, sir, please.
Yes,
I'm
Shyamala.
Dr. Shyamala Vijay Siva.
Yes,
Sir, nowadays what we find is most of the, I think 1 in every 3 becomes diabetic. And also for type 2 diabetes, they are going on increasing the insulin. See, actually the artificial insulin, it is not increasing the acceptance of insulin by the cells. So the cells are not taking the insulin, and simply pumping the insulin, it helps to lower the blood sugar level. Sometimes alarmingly it goes very low. I found in some cases, in spite of taking insulin also, because of increased stress, anxiety and depression you have mentioned, the blood sugar level was very high. 2 days back I've seen one patient. So in spite of taking 20 units of insulin, the sugar level was not reduced. So in such case, they are unable to do any asana or something like that. So in such case, as you said, the relaxation with some sort of breathing like Om chanting, or something like simple nostril breathing, can we make it as a
Yeah.
things are to help the humanity? So I
Thank you
want
for
your
that
expertise
question.
on that.
Very practical question. When people are taking a lot of insulin, often they are overdosing the insulin. So if you take too much of insulin, your sugar will go very low. And when it goes very low, glucagon will come in and it will go into a high. It's called a rebound. So too much of insulin, somebody needs 10 units and you give them 20 units, it will hit a low. And if they are not careful about it, it will then go to 600. So the first thing in such a patient is check the dosage of insulin, take it down a little bit. So if they're getting 20, you bring it to 15 and see, because they may be overdosing, the first thing. Second thing is, it doesn't matter how much insulin you give. If you are not controlling your diet, it's never going to be enough. Because, many people, they will take 1 packet of biscuits to digest, to work on that 1 packet of biscuit, you will need 5 or 6 units of insulin. So they say, sir, I took my insulin, but it's high, sir. Because they took 1 extra packet of biscuit, because they took some chips, because they said, oh, coffee la kucha sakar potukkalam. So what is important is the input monitoring is as important as the insulin. So insulin is important, but input monitoring. The second thing is physical activity. Some sort of physical activity. If they are sitting, they should stand. If they are standing, they should sit. If they're lying down, they should sit. If they're sitting, they should lie down. Changing the body position is very important for normal homeostatic mechanisms to work. If you're always lying down in bed, the homeostasis will be killed. And then nothing can help you. So let them lift the leg, let them put the leg down, put the leg against the wall if they cannot hold the leg up. Help them lift the leg or the hands. And again, left nostril breathing will help a lot to relax. And what we call spanda nishpanda, anybody can do. You are sitting or lying down. From the toes to the head, you tighten and then you let go. So full tight பண்ணிட்டு அப்படியே இது எங்க வேணா பண்ணலாம், யார் வேணா பண்ணலாம். Full tension followed by relaxation. It is the instant relaxation practice. Like instant coffee, instant noodles, அதெல்லாம் unhealthy. Instant relaxation is very healthy. So these are some practices that can be there. There are thousands of practices in yoga that people can do even if they are in bed. In your ward, the patient, they will be lying down in the bed. There are practices they can do. It is very, very useful. They can do that. Similarly, people, I remember Sri Deshikacharya sir, he used to tell, if you can breathe, you can do yoga therapy. So if they can breathe, you can do yoga therapy. Slow down the breath. The moment you slow down the breath, I see my dear Vidya Shri there. அவங்க palliative wardல போய் அத்தனை பேஷண்ட்டுக்கு கொடுப்பாங்க. Palliative wardல பெட்ல படுத்துட்டு இருப்பாங்க. அவங்களுக்கு போய் ஏதாவது ஒரு breathing, immediately you change. The breathing is the best way to change what is happening inside you. So I hope that gives some answers.
So the next question, what is the role of yoga in type 1 diabetes? And the few people who is getting in because of heredity in 20 years itself they are getting. So what is the solution for it? How yoga helps?
See, type 1 diabetes, as a medical doctor, I must warn you, please don't take the person off insulin. There are many yoga teachers, 317 participants right now, including me. So 316 are there other than me. One warning I want to give you all. Type 1 diabetes, I will cure you with yoga, so insulin stop pannadinga, please. Because that person is not capable of producing insulin. They need insulin from outside. You can reduce the dosage, no doubt about it. 20 units எடுக்கிற ஒரு பேஷண்ட்டை நீங்க 15 யூனிட்டுக்கு கொண்டு வரலாம். யோகா பண்ணுவதால கொண்டு வரலாம், ஆசனங்கள் பண்ணுவதால the body, because when you do the asanas, body, that insulin resistance is broken down, so the cells will get better benefit. முன்னாடி 20 யூனிட்ல என்ன எஃபெக்ட் இருந்ததோ 15 யூனிட்ல அதே எஃபெக்ட் the asanas will give you, but you need to give that 15 units because they cannot produce the insulin. Second thing is, it will adopt a healthy diet. Healthy diet is part of yoga therapy. So yoga is not only asana therapy. இது மட்டும் நல்லா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கங்க. யோகானா உடனே ஆசனா மட்டும் நினைக்காதீங்க. Attitude changing, lifestyle, what do you eat, how much water do you drink, how do you relate to other people, தேவையில்லாத டென்ஷன் எல்லாம் மனசுல வச்சுக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறது no use, இன்னும் வியாதி தான் வரும். How to reduce it. All of these concepts, if they come, type 1 diabetes லயும் யூஸ் பண்ணலாம். And the younger people getting diabetes totally because of junk food. Junk food is the main reason. நான் அதான் சொன்னேன், ஒரு பிஸ்கட் பாக்கெட் சாப்பிட்டா you need 5 or 6 units of insulin. And ஒரு நாளுக்கு வந்து ஒரு 4 லேஸ் சிப்ஸும் ஒரு 4 கூல் ட்ரிங்க், இந்த கூல் ட்ரிங்கை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டாப் பண்ணுங்க, ஹெல்த் எல்லாமே நல்லா இருக்கும். இந்த பெப்சி, கோகோ கோலா, ஆல் திஸ் நான்சென்ஸ் எல்லாமே வந்து ஃப்ரக்டோஸ், எல்லாமே ஃப்ரக்டோஸ். இந்த ஃப்ரக்டோஸ் சுகர் என்ன பண்ணும்னா, your body doesn't know what to do with it. So what will happen? The insulin mechanism is not working with the fructose, and it will trick your body so that all your mechanisms will shut down. So one of the biggest problems of obesity, the biggest problem of metabolic syndrome, biggest cause of diabetes is soft drink. எங்க பார்த்தாலும் கிடைக்கும். அதாவது கோயில் குளம் இருக்கா இல்லையோ கொக்கோ கோலா இருக்கும் அந்த ஊர்ல. அந்த அளவுக்கு அவன் வந்து கொண்டு போய் சேர்த்துட்டான். இந்த கொக்கோ கோலா, பெப்சி, இந்த ஃபாஸ்ட் ஃபுட், லேஸ் சிப்ஸ், உண்மையில சொல்லுவேன், நம்ம நாட்டை ஒழிச்சதே வந்து இதுதான். நீங்க பாருங்க, நீங்க 50 வருஷம் முன்னாடி பாருங்க, கொக்கோ கோலா, பெப்சி, இந்த ஃப்ரூட்டி, மிரண்டா, இந்த ஆல் தட் கூல் ட்ரிங்க் இல்லாத காலத்துல இருந்த டயபெட்டிஸை பாருங்க. இன்னைக்கு இந்தியாவை பாருங்க. இந்தியா has become the world capital of diabetes because of adopting Western degenerate junk food. We have to stop the junk food. அதே நீங்க வந்து வாழைப்பழம் சாப்பிடுங்க. எல்லாம் ஐயோ டயபெட்டிக் பேஷண்ட் பழம் சாப்பிடக்கூடாது. பழம் சாப்பிடலாங்க, ஒன்னாவது. நீங்க பழம் சாப்பிடலாம், ஆனா அந்த பழம் ஜூஸ் இருக்கு பாத்தீங்களா, அதுதான் பிரச்சனை. So what we have to do is we have to realize yoga therapy is whole lifestyle therapy. I told you earlier, yoga is the best lifestyle, the best healthy lifestyle ever created for humanity. கொஞ்சம் இதுல எமோஷனல் ஆயிடுவாங்க. ஏன்னா நம்ம நாடு வந்து தலை சிறந்த நாடு. பாகுக்குள்ளே நல்ல நாடு எங்கள் பாரத நாடு சொல்லிட்டு பாரதியார் பாடினார். இன்னைக்கு வந்து பயமா இருக்கு. ஏன்னா we have adopted all the negativities of the West. வெஸ்ட்ல இருக்க பாசிட்டிவிட்டிஸ் எடுக்கணும், அவனுடைய டிசிப்ளினை எடுக்கணும். அவன் ஒரு ஜாபை ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணானா முடிக்காம விட மாட்டான். 9 மணினா 9 மணிக்கு பண்ணுவான். அவன் யோகா கிளாஸுக்கு வரணும்னா அவன் 35 நாள் வரணும்னா 35 நாள் வருவான். நம்ம மக்கள் வந்து 2 நாளுக்கு அப்புறம் சார் போதும் சார். உண்மையா நான் சொல்லுவேன், அவங்க கிட்ட இருக்கிற டிசிப்ளின், வெஸ்டர்ன் கண்ட்ரீஸ்ல இருக்கிற டிசிப்ளினை நம்ம வாங்கிக்கணும். அவன் ஜங்க் ஃபுட்டை நம்ம வாங்கிட்டோம். நம்ம கிட்ட இருக்கிற நல்ல குவாலிட்டி அவன் எடுத்துக்கலாம், அவன் கிட்ட இருக்கிற ஜங்க் நம்ம எடுக்கலாம். ஆல் த வேஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த வெஸ்ட் ஹஸ் கம் டு இந்தியா. Please understand, yoga is 24 hours, not 60 minutes a day. 24 hours. How are you thinking? How are you eating? How are you drinking? What are your choices? All of that will influence your whole life. இதோட இதை கொஞ்சம் நிப்பாட்டிக்கிறேன். ஏன்னா இது வந்து அதுவும் யங்ஸ்டர்ஸை பார்க்கும்போது, ஏன்னா ஃபியூச்சர் வந்து யங்ஸ்டர்ஸுங்க எல்லாம் என்ன சாப்பிடுறாங்க, KFCலயும் இந்த பீட்சா கார்னர்லயும் ஜங்க் ஃபுட் தான் ஓடுது. நீங்க பார்க்கலாம், யாராவது அந்த ஹெல்த்தி ஃபுட் இருக்கிற சைடு யாராவது போறாங்களா பசங்க? அப்ப ஏன் டயபெட்டிஸ் வராது, ஏன் மெட்டபாலிக் சிண்ட்ரோம் வராது? அது இந்த வீடியோ கேம் ஒண்ணு. அதுவும் இந்த கோவிட் பேண்டமிக்ல எல்லாருக்கும் கையில போனு, எல்லாருக்கும் ஆன்லைன் கிளாஸ். இப்ப நம்ம ஆன்லைன் FDP பண்ணது மாதிரிதான். எல்லாம் வீடியோ ஆஃப் பண்ணி அவங்க வேலையை பார்த்துட்டு இருப்பாங்க, அட்டெண்டன்ஸ் கொடுத்துட்டு. பசங்க தான் பண்ணுவாங்க ஸ்கூல்ல. அண்ட் ஏதாவது ஒண்ணு, ஏன்னா ஃபுல்லா அந்த ஸ்கிரீன்ல இருக்கிறதால என்ன சாப்பிடும், எவ்வளவு சாப்பிடும், கண்ட்ரோல் இல்லாம போயிடும். We have to come back. We have to realize we have the choice. Every moment I have the choice. What am I going to eat? What am I going to do? அதுதான் நம்ம பார்க்கணும். We should have new role models, healthy role models. சரி, அடுத்த கேள்விங்க.
The next question, how yoga help as counseling tool in place of clinical counseling to maintain the good health?
Yeah, அந்த क्वेश्चனை நான் கொஞ்சம் மாடிஃபை பண்ணுவேன். In place of என்பது நான் ஒத்துக்க மாட்டேன். நீங்க வந்து யோகா இன்ஸ்டெட் ஆஃப் அலோபதி, யோகா இன்ஸ்டெட் ஆஃப் ஆயுர்வேதா, யோகா இன்ஸ்டெட் ஆஃப் திஸ், அந்த இன்ஸ்டெட் நான் ஒத்துக்க மாட்டேன். ஏன்னா யோகா பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் எல்லாத்து கூடயும் சேரும். அது இட் இஸ் எ நான் ட்ரக் தெரப்பி. ஸோ அலோபதி கூடயும் சேரும், ஹோமியோபதி கூடயும் சேரும், சித்தா கூடயும் சேரும், யுனானி கூடயும் சேரும், எல்லாத்து கூடயும் அது சேரும். அதுதான் வந்து இட் இஸ் ஆல் ஃபிலிக், வசுதைவ குடும்பக்கம் வந்து யோகா. ஸோ எந்த ஒரு சிஸ்டம் எடுத்தாலும் யோகாவை நீங்க அதுல சேர்த்துக்கலாம். ஸோ அதை வந்து நீங்க வந்து இன்ஸ்டெட் ஆஃப் சொல்லாதீங்க. எனக்கு ஐ டோ நாட் அக்செப்ட் வித் இன்ஸ்டெட். இட் இஸ் காம்ப்ளிமெண்டரி, இட் இஸ் பார்ட் ஆஃப் இன்டிகிரேட்டிவ் மெடிசன். இன்டிகிரேட்டிவ் மெடிசன் தான் யோகா. ஏன்னா எல்லாமே இன்டிகிரேட் ஆகுது. யோகா என்பதே இன்டிகிரேஷன். யுஜ்ஜதே அனேன யோகா, ஒன்று சேர்த்தல். ஸோ கவுன்சிலிங்கை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் யோகா கவுன்சிலிங்ல வந்து ஒரு முக்கியமானது வந்து பிரதிபக்ஷ பாவனம். மகரிஷி பதஞ்சலி கொடுத்துருக்காரு. அதாவது என்னன்னா, ஒரு நெகட்டிவ் டெண்டன்சி நம்மளுடைய மனசுல வரும்போதே உடனடியாக அந்த நெகட்டிவிட்டியை யூ ஹேவ் டு ரீப்ளேஸ் வித் எ பாசிட்டிவிட்டி. Replacing the negative tendencies with a positive approach, and not just a positive approach, a positive emotional filled approach. So suppose மனசுல தோணுது ஒரு சிகரெட் ஸ்மோக் பண்ணலாம் அப்படி தோணுதுன்னா, அந்த டைம்ல ஐயா வேணாம் அப்படி இல்லை, ஐ வில் நாட். அதாவது மனசுல எப்படின்னா அந்த இமோஷனலோட பிரதிபக்ஷ பாவனம். பாவனம் என்பது வந்து ஒரு இமோஷனலி ஃபில்ட் சர்சார்ஜ் பண்ண மாட்டேன், செய்ய மாட்டேன், அந்த ஒரு அப்ரோச் பிரதிபக்ஷ, எந்த பக்கத்துக்கு ஆப்போசிட். சோ எந்த ஒரு நெகட்டிவிட்டி வந்தாலும் யாரையாவது போய் நம்ம கத்தியால குத்தணும் தோணுதா, யூ இமிடியட்லி ஸ்டாப் யுவர் செல்ஃப். ஏதாவது திருடணும் தோணுதா, கோ அகேன்ஸ்ட் இட். தட் இஸ் த யம நியமம். சோ திஸ் இஸ் வை பிரதிபக்ஷ பாவனம் இன்றைய கவுன்சிலிங்ல காக்னிட்டிவ் பிஹேவியரல் தெரப்பி சொல்லுவாங்க, CBT. அந்த CBT-னுடைய ஒரிஜினலே வந்து நம்ம பிரதிபக்ஷ பாவனம் தான். So Pratipakša Bhavanam is a very good tool. Second tool is pranayama. In a pranayama la enna பண்ணுவோம்னா, சாதாரண இழுத்து விடுற மூச்சு, you are normally just breathing in and out automatically. You are changing from automatic unconscious breathing to a conscious choice of breathing. நான் வந்து இத்தனை கவுண்ட்க்கு breathe பண்ண போறேன், இத்தனை கவுண்ட் ஹோல்ட் பண்ண போறேன். You are making a decision to change from conditioning to choice. So when you make that change, it is a big change in psychology. So pranayama as a tool of psychology, a tool of counseling, Pratipaksha Bhavanam, and then one more, Maitri Karuna Mudito Pekshanam சொல்லிட்டு 4 பாவனங்களை வந்து பதஞ்சலி has given. So என்ன சொல்லியிருக்காருன்னா, மைத்ரி கருணா முதிதோ பேக்ஷானாம் சுகதுக்க புண்ணியா புண்ணிய விஷயானாம் பாவனார்த்தஹ சித்த பிரசாதனம். மனசு வந்து சிந்தனையானது வந்து பிரசித்தி பெற வேண்டும் என்றால், சித்தம் வந்து சுத்தமாக இருக்க வேண்டும் என்றால், clarity of the mind, you need to adopt 4 attitude. மைத்ரி என்றால் friendliness. யார்கிட்ட ஃப்ரெண்ட்லியா இருக்கணும்னா, அதாவது சுகமா இருக்கிறவங்க கிட்ட. அவங்க வந்து somebody who is at ease with themselves, you have to have மைத்ரி. துக்கத்துல வாடுறவங்க கிட்ட என்ன இருக்கணும், எந்த பாவனம் இருக்கணும்னா கருணா. So you are finding, அவங்க வந்து சுகத்துல இருந்தாங்கன்னா you are cheerful, அவங்க துக்கத்துல இருந்தாங்கன்னா you have கருணா. அடுத்தது என்ன, நல்லவங்க, புண்ணிய நல்லது செய்யறவங்க, அவங்க கிட்ட எப்படி இருக்கணும், முதித்த cheerfulா இருக்கணும். வாவ், குட், கம் ஆன், வெல் டன், அப்படி அவங்களுக்கு cheer பண்ணணும். அண்ட் கெட்டவங்க தவறு செய்யறவங்களை வந்து புறக்கணிக்கணும். அவங்க கிட்ட உபேட்சணம் இருக்க வேண்டும். நம்ம என்ன பண்ணுவோம், தப்பு செய்யறவனை போய் கை தட்டுவோம், நல்லது செய்யறவனை ஒழிச்சு கட்டுவோம். இதுதான் பிரச்சனை. The whole problem is we are not choosing what is the proper attitude. Patanjali's 4 attitude, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam, towards Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Apunya. And if we do this, we have that clarity. And along with the counseling tools of modern psychology, when the yogic tools are coming in, and a very important tool I already told you earlier, when the person says, sir, I am diabetic, you say you are not diabetic. Diabetes is a unwelcome visitor. Alayka virundi, alaya virundinar, alaya virundinar வந்து ஒழிஞ்சு போ சொல்லணும். அதை வந்து வீட்டுல வச்சுக்க கூடாது. You should not take that. We are taking it in and we are identifying. So we have to stop identifying with the disease. We have to stop identifying as having the disease. We have to identify as the individual. Parisuddhamana or Atma. We have the disease as an unwelcome visitor, temporary visitor, and we have to get rid of it. So the first counseling that always is given is when people come and tell, sir, I am diabetic. I say, no, you are having diabetes, which we are going to work on. But you are not diabetic. You are not hypertensive. You are not cancer. You are having cancer. We are going to work on the cancer. You are having diabetes. We are going to work on it. So diabetes is the unwelcome visitor. Whatever be the disease, it is the unwelcome visitor. So in the change in the perspective, because as long as they think I have diabetes, I am diabetic, அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்னா அது சொத்தை யாரும் விட்டு கொடுக்க மாட்டாங்க. They will not let go of property. So you have to remember that disease is not your property. You are not a property of the disease. It is a very important part of yogic counseling. Yes. Over to the next question.
Yes, sir. So next, what is the practice to cure acid reflux and stomach disorder? As a student, I have started my therapy by initially she has faced some abdomen contraction because when she got the pain, now she is focusing on abdomen releasing or opening. Is my approach is correct?
Yeah, the approach is correct, but more than the abdomen aspect, acid secretion starts up here in the head. So that is why stress will always increase the HCl. So stress is going to increase the acid in the stomach. So we have to look at anti-stress. Yoga as anti-stress is an important part to reduce the HCl secretion. Second thing is increased acidity is classified as pitta. Pitta vyadhi adu. So pitta, nama vata pitta kapha solita ayurvedaliyum irukku, siddhaliyum irukku. So what is very important here is it is pitta. So you need to do pranayama which is anti-pitta, which is shitali sitkari, cooling pranayamas. So for acid reflux and peptic ulcer and all, shitali sitkari are very effective tools. Chandranadi pranayama to reduce the stress, and then you can work on other practices, as she said, to loosen the abdomen, prevent the contraction. All of that is okay. But again, remember, diet is an important factor. Small, frequent meals, less oil, less spices. Fruits are very good. So fruit is a anti-pitta diet. So fruits. Pitta is oil and spices. So reduce the oil and spices, increase the fruit, and according to the tradition, the sweet can be there. So fruit is a good sweet for that. Sometimes the stress is the major factor in acid reflux. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So the next question. So for the chronic kidney disease or for kidney stones, we used to have the diet like plantain juice or something. How yoga practices helps for the same?
Yeah. See, actually, all these stones are because of dehydration. So one of the important aspect is to make sure you are having adequate amount of water. But once you go into chronic kidney disease, you have to limit the water. So either the Vyadi varadhukku munadi, something that is good, Vyadi vandappa may not be good. So what we have to remember is that we have to flush out the system. That is where we have all these different plantain and other things coming. Some of the simple compression practices like the Pavana Muktasana from the supine posture is a very good practice, because Pavana Muktasana will enable the Apana Vayu. You have to, when you think about the kidney, you think of Apana Vayu. So Apana Vayu has to be made functional. So all the practices for Apana Vayu, and Apana Vayu is related to Mooladhara Swadhisthana Chakra. So you have to think of practices like Moola Bandha Ashwini Mudra. You have to think of practices like Utkatasana, the full squat, which is the traditional way people used to go to the toilet. Today we don't do it. We are sitting on the throne and all the other things. So we have to change that. Similarly, the leg lifting, Pada Uttana, is very useful to help the flow. Then in the standing, bending forward into what is called Pada Hasta, or some people call it Apanasana also. In the Krishnamacharya tradition, Apanasana, Uttanasana, they use it also. And visualization of this area. One of the important things is that whenever a body part is having a disease, you have to visualize healing energies to that body part. So instead of saying, oh, there's pain, 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 pain becomes your Maha Mantra. It should become healing. So that healing should become your focus in these conditions. Again, with kidneys, one of the major issues is the blood flow is not proper because of the hypertension and other things. So the relaxation practice will enable the blood flow to be normal in the kidney, and that will again help all the kidney disorders to come under control a bit better. It depends on the disease state also. When people have gone into very good, I have had people who have come to me, sir, எனக்கு chronic kidney failure, sir. எனக்கு வந்து யோகா பண்ணணும் சேவிங்க சார், எனக்கு அடுத்த வாரம் kidney transplant பண்ணுவாங்க சார், அதை தடுக்க முடியுமா? See, next week is your kidney transplant. You have gone to such a level. Now yoga is not going to immediately give you a miracle. But what it will do is, once you have that surgery, it will help you recover from the surgery. And even after that kidney transplant, you will have immunity issues. You will have different issues that yoga will help you. So we have to realize this everybody wants a cure. I think what is more important than cure is healing. Healing is the most important aspect of yoga as a therapy, more than cure. We may or may not cure, but we can definitely heal. Healing is a very important component that we need to focus on there.
Thank you, sir. And the next question is, nowadays the menopause women are frequently facing many women are facing the fibroids problem. So how the yoga helps, and is the fibroids it will be reduced or not? What is the effect of it, sir?
See, again, fibroids, because they are part of the genitourinary system, Apana Vayu. So what I said about the kidneys with Apana Vayu, similar activities are there. Now, in addition to that, when we talk about the female reproductive organs, the ovary and the uterus, we have to realize they have been under the control of the pituitary gland and the pituitary hypothalamus. So hypothalamo-pituitary has been controlling it for a long time. And then now there are certain changes happening because of menopause. So we have to look at practices like Brahmari. The Brahmari pranayama is very useful to regulate the hypothalamus and pituitary axis, which is the master switch over all the other endocrine. So especially when we deal with menopause, Brahmari pranayama is very useful. Again, the cooling pranayamas, Shitali, Sitkari, they are very useful, along with the practices I suggested for the enhancing the Apana Vayu function. Next one.
Sir, and the next question is, what is your opinion on children attaining puberty at young age?
Yeah, see, why that is happening is our food is having all the chemicals. So see, before, like, you had a carrot, it was a carrot. You had a pusnika, it was a pusnika. Now you don't know what is even in vegetarian diet, let alone non-vegetarian diet. See, non-vegetarian diet, what are they feeding that cow, that pig, that chicken? We don't know, that goat. So what hormones are being fed? Because the chicken should be, you know, so what happens is, to enhance all of that aspect of the meat, lot of hormones are pumped. Now all those are growth hormones. Growth hormone வந்து சின்ன குழந்தைக்கு வந்து அந்த non-veg சாப்பிடும்போது, and vegலியும் பல chemicals இருக்கு. அதனால தான் it's not only about the non-veg. All the food is having these chemicals. So when they have that chemical at an earlier age, that chemical coming into the system will trigger the earlier puberty. So for me, I think the most important here aspect is that this is very much related to the food intake. Second thing that is also happening is related to the exercise. Because earlier, நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா பசங்க வந்து ஸ்கூலுக்கு போனாங்கன்னா டெய்லி 1-2 hours விளையாடுவாங்க. இப்ப எந்த ஸ்கூல்ல விளையாடுவாங்களே எனக்கு தெரியல. There is no physical activity in the school. Where is the physical activity? When I was in school, every day we had minimum 2 hours of physical activity. We would have PT, we would go play cricket, we would have football, we will do running, we will do something. Where is it now? Study, die. It has come to that level. And so the kids, the stress that is there. 90 mark வாங்கினாலும் பத்தல. ஏன் அந்த பொண்ணு 95 வாங்கிட்டா? You get 99, that kid got 100. Why you didn't get? You are a mundam. See, what has happened is the stress that is there will automatically trigger all the hormones. So I think we parents have to look at what are we feeding our kids. We have to make sure they have adequate activity. And we have to make sure that we are helping them to be in a place where the stress level can be dealt with. Next one.
Sir, another question. For many cervical cervical spondylosis or something, the pranayama really helps much. So what is the physiology or what is the thing involved in that?
I am not sure how pranayama is helping in cervical, but anyway, maybe it is helping. What we find is the best practice is Brahma Mudra. The Brahma Mudra is the best practice for the cervical issues. Recently, we published a very good paper on that also. The Brahma Mudra, where you are doing the head to the 4 directions with the breathing and with the sound. Now, some people call it Brahma Mudra Pranayama, but no, it is Brahma Mudra with the breathing. So it's not really Pranayama. It is a very effective practice. But along with that, what is very important here is that we also bring in practices that enhance the curvature. The cervical area பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு curvature இருக்கணும், C shape இருக்கணும். அது முக்காவாசி பேரோட எக்ஸ்ரே பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஸ்ட்ரெயிட் ஆகி போச்சு. So the whole cervical area has lost the curvature. So இந்த curvature கொண்டு வரதுக்கு முக்கியமான ஒரு practice வந்து Bhujangasana. Bhujangasana is a very good practice to bring that curvature. Similarly, practices like the Vyagra Pranayama, tiger breathing. இந்த tiger breathing பாத்தீங்கன்னா 2 காய் 2 முட்டில இருக்கும். And அந்த ஒரு டைகர் வந்து பிரீத் பண்ணும்போது எப்படி அந்த ஸ்பைன் மூவ் ஆகுதோ அந்த மாதிரி வந்து ஒரு பியூட்டிஃபுல் மூவ்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் த ஹோல் ஸ்பைன். That movement across all the 33 vertebrae. There's a beautiful movement that is there. This is an excellent practice for cervical issues and also for the lower back. ஏன்னா இன்னைக்கு கழுத்து வலி இருக்குன்னா நாளைக்கு வந்து முதுகு வலி கண்டிப்பா வரும். இன்னைக்கு முதுகு வலி இருக்குன்னா நாளைக்கு கழுத்து வலி கண்டிப்பா வரும். ஏன்னா எல்லாமே ஒரே கனெக்ஷன் தான், ஒரே ட்ரெயின் தான். அது வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட்ல இருக்கிற கம்பார்ட்மெண்ட், இது லாஸ்ட்ல இருக்கிற கம்பார்ட்மெண்ட். ஆனா ட்ரெயின் வந்து ஒரே ட்ரெயின் தான். ஸோ வியாகர பிராணாயாமா, crawling around on all fours. அதாவது சாதா உங்க பெட் மேலேயோ கார்பெட் மேலேயோ நீங்க crawling பண்ணீங்கன்னா இந்த கழுத்துக்கு முதுகுக்கு வந்து it is very good. Brahma Mudra is a very good practice for this, along with Bhujangasana especially. Now, based on the individual, இப்ப நான் வந்து உங்களுக்கு கொடுக்கிறது வந்து ஒரு just a general outline. There will be other practices that can be added based on the individual. ஏன்னா யோகா வந்து it has to be tailored to that individual. யோகா தெரப்பி சொல்லும்போது எல்லா டயபெட்டிக் பேஷண்ட்டுக்கும் ஒரே தெரப்பி கொடுக்க முடியாது. One diabetic patient may be obese, another may be thin, one may be young, one may be old, one may be flexible, one may not be flexible. இதெல்லாமே பார்த்துட்டு நம்ம வந்து டெய்லர் பண்ணணும். ஸோ இப்போ நான் உங்களுக்கு கொடுக்கறது வந்து இட் இஸ் நாட் தட் இதுதான் வந்து டாக்டர் ஆனந்தாவுடைய பிரிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் அப்படி இல்லை. இது வந்து ஒரு ஜெனரல் அவுட்லைன். And then based on your knowledge and the practices you have, you can then adapt it to suit the individual. It should suit the individual, be it a student or be it a patient. Individual centric, personalized. Ipala medicine la personalized medicine pesranga. Yoga therapy originally it is a personalized medicine in that way. Yes, next question.
Sir, one final question, sir. So to
final ke one Thomas.
Okay, sir. So actually, for here so many research scholars are there. So they're referring PubMed, NCBI for their research related articles. Is any other articles or something they have to refer, sir?
Yeah. அதாவது பொதுவா நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா ரிசர்ச்சரை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் PubMed வந்து இட் இஸ் கோல்ட் ஸ்டாண்டர்ட். எனக்கு வந்து என்னைக்குமே வந்து ஏன்னா PubMed வந்து ஃப்ரீ ஆக்சஸ். ஸோ பிகாஸ் இட் இஸ் ஃப்ரீ ஆக்சஸ் ஐ ஆல்வேஸ் புட் PubMed at the first level. Then they come to Scopus. Scopusல என்ன ப்ராப்ளம்னா நீங்க அதுல போய் ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணதுக்கே நீங்க மெம்பர்ஷிப் ஆகணும். So the moment people want you to pay for access, already it means it is a business. So automatically the issues, but Scopus indexed is the next level as far as I'm concerned. PubMed is first level, Scopus is second level. மூணாவது வந்து உங்களுக்கு வந்து ரெண்டு ஆப்ஷன் இருக்கு. ஒன்னு வந்து academia.edu ஒன்னு இருக்கு. இந்த academia.edu போனீங்கன்னா எல்லா ரிசர்ச்சும் அவங்களுடைய பேப்பர்ஸ் அதுல போட்டிருப்பாங்க. So normally வந்து many of the journals, when you go to the many of the journals, they'll want you to pay $30, $40 to access one article. இது சுத்த வந்து அயோக்கியத்தனம். I'm sorry to use that term here. சுத்த அயோக்கியத்தனம். ஏன்னா ஆத்தரும் காசு கட்டணும், படிக்கிறவனும் காசு கட்டணும். யாருக்கு அந்த காசு போகும்னா இந்த பப்ளிஷிங் கம்பெனிக்கு தான், யாருக்கும் இல்லை. So nobody wants to pay $30, $40 for accessing one paper. But if you go on academia.edu, many of the authors will be there. And if you send them a message, they will send you a copy of their article. So academia.edu la வந்து all of my papers, 300 papers மேல வந்து அங்க academia-ல நான் ஃப்ரீயா போட்டு வச்சிருக்கேன். And every week minimum 10-15 பேர் என்கிட்ட வந்து மெசேஜ் அனுப்புவாங்க, இந்த பேப்பர் எனக்கு வேணும், அந்த பேப்பர் வேணும். And immediately we share the paper. The other source is ResearchGate. ResearchGate. Research போட்டுட்டு GATE. அதுவும் வந்து it is a very good. ResearchGate எப்படின்னா வந்து இதே மாதிரி வந்து authors வந்து அந்த டீம்ல இருப்பாங்க. அதுல நீங்க ஒரு if you are a research scholar, please make an account in ResearchGate and academia, please. You will immediately access to all the publications that are coming from so many authors. And அது அப்பப்போ வரும். நீங்க உங்களுடைய field of interest, இப்ப யோகா தெரப்பி, வெல்னஸ், சைக்காலஜி, பிசியாலஜி, பிசிக்கல் எஜுகேஷன், அப்படியெல்லாம் நீங்க உங்க இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் அதை போட்டுட்டீங்கன்னா உங்களுடைய இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் related to your interest, all the papers அப்பப்போ வந்து it will show you like a glimpse. So then you will know that, oh, this paper has come, that paper has come. And when you publish, you can upload it there and share it with others. People will give you comments. Every day I get comments on one paper or the other paper from somebody on these sites. இன்னைக்கு வந்து ResearchGateல பாத்தீங்கன்னா வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட வந்து 10 lakhs view nearly I have now. 10 லட்சம் views வந்து on ResearchGate, and about 2 lakhs it's getting close to on academia. Academia I joined later. So the idea is people will get that, and you can also access and you can share with people. So whenever I give, for example, உங்களுக்கு இன்னைக்கு இந்த PPT நான் போட்டேன்னா உடனடியாக academia-ல போய் நான் அதை அப்லோட் பண்ணிடுவேன். ஏன்னா வந்து people can access it there. They can download it, they can utilize it. Because sharing is caring is my motto. So பாத்தீங்கன்னா slide share சொல்லிட்டு there was a site, slide share. அதுல வந்து ஒரு 300 slides இந்த மாதிரி இந்த PPT எல்லாம் போட்டேன். ப்ராப்ளம் என்னன்னா இப்ப ரீசெண்டா ஸ்லைட் ஷேர் இன்னொரு கம்பெனி ஸ்கிரிப்ட் வந்து has bought it. So slide share வந்து you have to have a paid membership to even download the slide. So அதனால வந்து இப்ப நான் அங்க போடாம நான் அகாடமியால போட்டுட்டு இருக்கேன். I used to share all my PPTs on slide share, but there is also, you send me an email, I'll give you a way to go around it. Sci-fi hub எல்லாம் இருக்கு. So there are ways you can go around this whole mafia. And SlideShare, you can download, there is a link. You can download the PPT as a PDF. A PPT you download but PPT la editable. So PDF is fine. So PubMed la the search, the main mistake many researchers make is they don't use the proper search term. Search term is a major issue. Summa boy to yoga reporting you will get some studies. But some studies, the keyword may not have been yoga, it may have been asana. Some studies, the keyword may have been pranayama. Some studies, the keyword would have been relaxation. So, you can search yoga, relaxation, pranayama, mind-body therapy, lifestyle management. Where search terms, search comprehensive literature review. Yoga and diabetes, say you get 200 paper, yoga and diabetes. But if I put yoga and diabetes, asana and diabetes, pranayama and diabetes, relaxation diabetes, lifestyle diabetes, diet diabetes, I'll have more than 1,000 papers. See, the thing is, and the research, the search term will determine what you are getting. I want to meet Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani, who is working at Saita in Sri Balaji Vidyapith. Never you will come to me. But I want to meet Ananda. You want to meet Ananda? Who is the Ananda in Pondicherry? So you full suthi Yenda Ananda going, Ananda Indic going, Ananda Cinema Theatre going, Ananda Medicals going, you will not get to Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani. Search terms should be specific. So you have to learn to use different search terms. Idella mesh, MESH terms. Please look into that. Because on the terms on the and when you are writing a paper, also use the search term. I'll give you an example. Madan Mohan sir Hindi thinking. Kashmir Kashmir Pandit, Hindi peswar. So Madan Mohan sir yoga, YOGA YOG solva. Pranayama PRANAYAM Asan ASAN and the A. So search term beginning asan yog YOG. So our paper it is given the search term as YOG. You are searching in PubMed YOGA, his paper will not come. See, this is the problem that comes. You search asana, his paper will not come. You search asan, his paper will come. You search YOG, it will come. So when you are searching, sometimes you have to put YOG instead of YOGA to get those papers from people who, when they think of yoga, they think of yoga. Asana, they think of asan. Pranayama, pranayam. So they would have put those terms in the search. So in the search, in the specific term, and when you are writing, please make sure that if you are writing a paper, you put a term there. 5 or 6 key terms, keywords kuduka solluvaanga. Summa adhaadu yerkane title la irukra term kudukadinga. Title la irukra term kuduthinga waste. Already title la pick up paniko. See, the search engine will already pick up the title. So don't give, if title already has yoga, you don't have to give a keyword as yoga. You can give pranayam. If the title already has cancer, don't give a keyword as cancer. It will anyway pick it up. So try to give keywords that are not part of your title. Give keywords that you want somebody to see your paper, that you want somebody to read your paper. What type of person do you want? Think of them. What will they search for? And put that term in your keyword. So you have to think, adhaadu perspective in the yosichi keyword your papers will be accessed. As I said, now it is, nearly 1 billion, 10 lakh. 10 lakh paper views are there because I have the key terms that people are looking for. So this is a very important component from this point of view. I hope that answers this question. Very important question for research. Research,
Thank you, sir. Sir, so many research scholars are there. And the final question, sir. While publishing our paper, so what are the journals we have to see? For example, we used to see so many fake journals also come in the middle. So how we have to identify and how we have to go with the publications?
First of all, உங்களுக்கு யாராவது email போட்டு email போட்டு, if somebody writes an email to you and says, please give me an article for this issue of the journal, most probably அது வந்து fake journal. எந்த actual journalம் உங்களுக்கு email போட்டு author கிட்ட கொடுங்க கேட்க மாட்டாங்க. So the first way to know whether the journal is real or not is the real journal will never send you an email soliciting your article and that also saying your special article for this issue. இதெல்லாம் வந்து fake. Second point, from Indian point of view, I'll tell you practical. உங்களுக்கு சொல்றேன். நீங்க போய் UGC care சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு லிஸ்ட் இருக்கு. UGC CARE consortium சொல்லிட்டு. அந்த UGC CARE லிஸ்ட போய் நீங்க டவுன்லோட் பண்ணி பாத்துங்க. அதுல எந்தெந்த ஜர்னல் இருக்கு பாருங்க. That is the minimum you need for academic publishing in India. Anything less than UGC care, your paper is worthless. குப்பை தொட்டியில போட்டுக்காங்க. UGC care கம்மியா நீங்க பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா your paper is worthless. உங்க அந்த பயோடேட்டால போட்டாலும் வேஸ்ட், யாரும் படிக்க மாட்டாங்க. So the first point, minimum UGC care. Second, you see if it is PubMed indexed, Scopus indexed. These two are important because PubMed indexed will always be picked up in PubMed. Remember, number first enga poi search பண்ணுவோம் PubMed. You want your paper to come there. So is the journal PubMed indexed? Is it Scopus indexed? That is the higher level. Now those journals, when you go to the website, will tell you what is the impact factor. 0.7, 1.2, 3 இதெல்லாம் சொல்லுவாங்க. இந்த fake journal எல்லாமே என்ன சொல்லுவானா, என்னோட இம்பாக்ட் ஃபேக்டர் 8, 9, 10, 15, 22, 30 அப்படி சொன்னாலே இது fake. ஏன்னா அந்த ஜர்னல் எல்லாம் நம்மளுக்கு இமெயில போட மாட்டான். நான் உங்களுக்கு ஃப்ராங்கா சொல்லுவாங்க. See, I am very, very pragmatic in this. This huge, they will give one, they will say, I published an impact factor with 7. I'm like, look at that and you will find it is a totally fake journal. Predatory publishing சொல்லுவாங்க. So please look for journals that are authentic. Now, as far as yoga studies go, currently நம்மளுக்கு accessibility few தான். அதாவது International Journal of Yoga from SVYASA is PubMed indexed. Then other than that, International Journal of Yoga Therapy in USA, it is PubMed indexed. So இது ரெண்டு வந்து PubMed indexed with yoga and yoga therapy. கைவல்ய தாம யோகா மீமாம்சா ஒரு ஜர்னல் இருக்கு. அது வந்து UGC கேர் லிஸ்ட்லயும் இருக்கு. So இப்போதைக்கு immediate yoga related journalsனா யோகா மீமாம்சா is on UGC care. iJoy is PubMed. I think also, I'm not too sure about Scopus there. And IJYT, International Journal of Yoga Therapy, is PubMed and Scopus. So this is one. Second, you are doing a study of yoga and diabetes. Why do you want to publish in a yoga journal? Publish in a diabetic journal. You are doing a study of yoga in fibroid. So you look for a gynecology journal to publish. That should be your goal. Yoga journal publish panna, yoga journal is already being read by people who already love yoga, they like yoga, they are convinced. You want to take your research to people who are not convinced. So first try to publish in the journal of the specialty that your work is being done. Yoga and neck pain, try to publish in a journal. We published the Brahma Mudra in Body Movement Journal of Elsevier. Now that is a high impact journal. So that is read by everybody who looks at work which is to do with neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain. So that message that yoga has a technique called Brahma Mudra, it is effective, is going to that population. So another ninga kunja journal parunga. Please, especially for upcoming research scholars and the lower, newer level junior faculty, please be careful of predatory journal. அதுல நீங்க பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணா உங்க பப்ளிகேஷன் எங்கேயும் கன்சிடர் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க. Second thing, it may be considered a black mark against you. So please make sure it is not predatory. இல்லனா வந்து it may not be counted. You will go to some interview and you say I have 25 paper. They'll say not one of them is indexed. Your paper is 0. அதுதான் சொல்லுவாங்க. ரெண்டாவது அதுல அடிக்கடி பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணுவீங்கன்னா ஓஹோ சரி உங்க லெவல் அவ்வளவுதான், காசு கொடுத்து பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணுவீங்க. So please be careful of that. It is easy to fall into it. Sometimes தெரியாம நம்ம பண்ணிடுறோம். நானும் வந்து ஒரு 7-8 பேப்பர் வந்து predatory journalல பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணிடுறேன். அது predatory தெரியாமே நான் பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணிடுறேன். பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணி அது peer review எல்லாம் நடந்தது, எல்லாம் நல்லா போச்சு. கடைசியில தான் தெரிய வந்தது predatory. Already it had been published. Okay, fine, அவ்வளவுதான். We have learned something from it, not to do that again. That's why I'm telling you, all the mistakes of research, I have done it and come through it. So now the first question I ask, is it PubMed indexed? That is for me the first question. Then Scopus indexed. அதுவும் இல்லையா, அட்லீஸ்ட் யூஜிசி கேர் இருக்கா? அதுவும் இல்லையா, உங்க யூனிவர்சிட்டியில ஒரு ஜேர்னல் இருந்தா அதுக்காவது கொடுத்து போங்க. ஏன்னா உங்க யூனிவர்சிட்டியில சந்தோஷப்படுவாங்க, எங்களுடைய ஜேர்னலுக்கு ஒரு ஆர்டிகல் கொடுத்தாங்க சொல்லி. ஸோ அட்லீஸ்ட் உங்க யூனிவர்சிட்டியில இருக்கிற ஃபேக்கல்டிஸ் வில் பி ஹாப்பி வித் யூ that you gave one article for their journal. But don't go for predatory. Please be very careful with that.
Thank you, sir. And today we have learned so much, started from pathogenesis to salutogenesis, and even in each session we used to see some new word. Today it has been taken translational value. It's really very much needed. And you have explained the basic research, how it is very important, and how the translational research is binding the relationship between clinical research and the basic research. And the research is, it should not be not only the experimental science, it should be experienced by the researcher, and it should be used for each and every end user. And also so many things we have learned, and your session is very, it's a very needy one, and it's eye opener to all the research scholars. And thank you so much, sir. And we impressed with your biodata already, but this session also really it is very we impressed. Thank you so much, sir. And your question answer session really we took a lot of time, but you have answered very patiently. Thank you so much, sir. Really, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. A special thank you to Professor Ilangovan, sir, the whole team there in the Faculty of Yogic Sciences and Therapy at Meenakshi Academy. You are doing a wonderful work in taking this forward. So best of luck for all the participants for this event. And you can always contact me. Easiest way, you just type Bhavanani and yoga. In the world, there's only one Bhavanani and yoga. So it will only be me. Search term simple. நீங்க ஆனந்தா போட்டீங்கன்னா எத்தனையோ வரும். பவனானி அண்ட் யோகா அகாடமியால பார்க்கலாம், ரிசர்ச் கேட்ல பார்க்கலாம், யூடியூப்ல பார்க்கலாம். ஆனா ஃபோன் பண்ணாதீங்க, என்னன்னா ஃபோன் எடுக்க மாட்டேன். So just letting you all know, I answer emails, I answer queries, but usually I don't take my phone because I don't have time for it. So don't think it is because of ego. It is just that I'm not able to do it. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful time learning, enjoying, and letting yoga manifest in your life. Thank you. Nandri Vanakkam.
Thank you so much, sir. So now I hand over the dais to Pallavi.
Thank you, sir. It was such an intense moment. So it was an incredible moment. Now we would like to go for the vote of thanks session. May I now request Dr. Subbulakshmi Velusamy, Associate Professor FYST Maher, to present the vote of thanks. She is currently working as an Associate Professor in the Faculty of Yoga Sciences and Therapy, Meenakshi Academy of Higher Education and Research. Dr. Velusamy served as an Assistant Professor of Yoga for more than 4 years at India-China Yoga College, Yunnan Minzu University, Kaning, People's Republic of China, and appointed by External Affairs Ministry, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, conducted many workshops and presented papers across China to propagate yoga. Previously worked at Research Department in Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram in leading Yoga Institute in Chennai. I welcome you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible, Pallavi? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Faculty of Yoga Sciences and Therapy, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all present here for the Faculty Development Program on Integrating Yoga in Higher Education on the occasion of International Day of Yoga 2022. I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to the esteemed guest, Shri Shubodh Tiwari, CEO, Kaivalya Dham Yoga Institute, for delivering the inaugural address. Our heartfelt thanks to Yogacharya Dr. Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani, Director, Center for Yoga Therapy Education and Research, and Professor of Yoga Therapy at Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth University, Pondicherry, for the keynote address. We are very grateful to both the dignitaries for accepting our invitation and honoring this occasion with your inspirational thoughts. We are really enlightened with your presence and the insights that you have shared with regard to integrating yoga in higher education and research aspect of it. The FDP started reaping its benefit from day one first session with a lot of updation going on in our learning. Time and presence is often the greatest gift we can give to people. That is what we received today from our Yogacharya. Thank you, sir, for your generosity in time by clearing the doubts of our participants. Further, we are very glad, very grateful to our registrar, Professor Dr. C. Kritika, for the support that we received immensely in organizing such events. And also thank you, ma'am, for delivering the presidential address. We are thankful to our professor and head, Dr. R. Ilangovan, for taking effort in guiding us and organizing this event. I take this opportunity to thank the organizing committee, chief patrons, Mr. A.N. Radhakrishnan, Chancellor Maher, Mrs. Jayanti Radhakrishnan, Rector Maher, patron, Professor R.S. Neelakandan, Vice Chancellor Maher, additional patron, Professor Dr. C. Kritika, Registrar Maher, convener, Dr. Shyam Sivasamy, Director, IQAC Maher, organizing secretary, Dr. R. Ilangovan, Professor and Head, FIST. I extend my thanks to the coordinators, Dr. S. Murugesan, Associate Professor, FIST, Dr. G. Ramakrishnan, Associate Professor, FIST, Mr. A. Annadurai, Assistant Professor, FIST. I would like to thank our organizing committee members, PhD scholars, and students of FIST. Finally, a special thanks to all the participants for registering and willing to take part in this faculty development program. Once again, I thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request all the participants to have a bio break for lunch. Next session of day 1 begins at 2 o'clock. I request all the participants to join once again at 2 o'clock to gain extraordinary insights from our next speakers. Thank you. And the meeting ID for the next session will be the same. Please rejoin with the same meeting ID.